Okay, we're back.
We
Full
actually
raid.
counted down properly.
Hi, everybody.
A little bit of overlapping audio there, but it's fine. Everything's fine. Hi, we're in. I think this would be 34. It's 30-something. We had a week off, so I'm not 100% sure which one this one is.
I got to watch the most one-sided Super Bowl I have ever seen. That was so funny.
Oh,
As
God.
you do.
My favorite one-sided game was was my home team, the Seahawks versus the Broncos. It was devastation.
Oh no, it was very similar to that exact game.
Excellent.
Where the Chiefs during the top of the third quarter it was 35-0.
Jesus.
I mean the Chiefs scored a bunch at the end because the Eagles just stopped caring. Because they were like, oh, we can't lose. All right.
But enough of the superb owl.
Yes. We're doing Rin. This episode, like all of our episodes, is brought to you by our patrons like Adam DeHart, Regulus OG, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, JDV9000, Crystalli, Legendary Boss Hunter, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Chavo, Some Guy Named Bob, and Red the Crow. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm fighting the chair squish. We've been sitting in the chair already for about an hour. Ugh. Actually, it's been like a couple hours since I ate dinner. Anyway. Meowdy. You guys are in Highbower. I believe we already made some rolls and plans for everybody to wake up the next morning, but I don't remember if anybody had any other night stuff or other downtime, because, you would have had several hours, before and after dinner, if you had any other projects you wanted to hammer out.
Realistically, based on how I spent my experience, Nicola was probably training in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
I do not remember if anyone had any conversations with NPCs or anything they had planned, but
no, mines are planned for on the trip to Four Leaves. Yeah. I could go shopping for specific gems, but I'll. How big is Highbower? It's pretty big. Oh no, it's not. It's actually no. The gem trade probably is
moderately sized.
Yeah, it's probably the gem trade's probably not that great here. Never mind. No.
Yeah.
Then nay, I have nothing. I will relax and socialize.
Yeah, same.
I will find a comfy place in wherever we are staying, lounge appropriately, drink wine, and engage in polite conversation.
The Highbower Manor. All right, okay. Didn't know if you wanted to set up with any of your silver projects, because you don't.
Oh, you're right. I did want to do that.
You're not gonna have a lot of time in. Well, you guys will have as much time in Four Leaves as you want to take. The prince and the others are not going to stay that long in the town.
I totally forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. No, Inos will commandeer a workshop space and get to working on some silver pens.
All right.
I probably should
make your expert roll.
I probably would be better for the ending half of the day.
5, 3.
Because I want to try and make some more orichalcum. Have a plan for that.
Do you have a source of gold and red? Whatever the red is it copper? Is it copper gold? And other stuff?
I probably would have brought some. Because I didn't actually make any on the trip. I haven't actually made any on the trip because we've been so busy.
That is true.
I made some before the trip.
We left to stock up, and you have not.
And
actually
then stole all of it.
I did not steal all of it.
You gave it all.
Okay, rather, it was given to. We bargained for it for an indeterminate favor at some point.
Did we?
This was like the first session when we landed on the set, so it was like 20 sessions ago.
Yeah, I am.
Like-
I'm pretty sure one of Nicola's spare orichalcum ingots ended up in your music box. Yes.
That is
no,
true.
it wasn't the music box. It was it was one that was in the music box, and one was in the one that
pin
he said
was
I owe
the
you one for was the pin.
No,
Dragon
it was not the
Pin, yeah.
pin one. The pin one specifically, I remember this. You sighed and just handed Inos an orichalcum bar.
Okay, then it was the music box.
Yeah,
one.
the music box
think
one
that's
problem,
the correct way
but-
around.
yeah.
The box was a.
It's been a while, man.
Yes, it has. It has been a while since we started that project. I see you've got at least 6s. Yes, you should be able to.
But also, when
they're
I say
cuff
favor,
or collar pins.
I say favor. It was very informal, and Enos literally went, "I owe you one."
Probably.
No,
So it wasn't like
with
a,
with your 6s. Yeah, I think your highest width is 2, no matter what. Several matches though.
So yeah, I'm gonna.
But yes, we did actually do a little bit of talking about this and reading the earlier. Your silver is fairly hand workable, so you don't even need like a crucible or pocket forge to work it. You can make pins. They're pretty small, because you're aiming for cufflink or collar pins.
Yeah. I'm just gonna knock out the 2 for Narissa and Agave for now, just to make sure those get done.
All right.
The designs
We have
will
the
be
same idea.
the designs will be as well, since this wasn't on fucking Mike. The pins will be rings with a with the what were they called? What were the birds called again?
Warhawks.
With a warhawk feather on emblazoned on it, with one a rifle cross behind it, and the second one a spear cross behind it. And yes, Inos will work on those for several hours.
I have a question, Omega.
Yeah.
I assume. Well, I assume width doesn't matter for this spell.
Not for sorcery, no.
Yeah. But so for jewelry making, because I'm assuming Enos is going to be busy. For
is for
extremely
customers.
crude jewelry making, do you need the profession for it?
Well, you'd need some kind of skill to roll, unless you're just going to roll knowledge without anything.
Well, so what I was going to argue is for extremely basic shapes, because what I'm trying to make is very basic.
Which is
I'm trying to make a pair of rings, so.
Oh no, rings are those are not so basic as you think, my dude.
Oh, they aren't.
Circles do require a little bit of extra work. Yes,
Well,
I mean,
I was just saying, could I
pretty sure
finagle knowledge engineering into
Whoa.
that?
Maybe, honestly, actually.
Because
well, I mean, it depends on how you're trying to work it. Like
I'm trying to make a basic ass ring that I can stamp a letter into. That's literally it.
I mean, the simple version of that is you're going to need some. The problem is this is not necessarily a question of skill; it's a question of materials. The easiest way you do this is you get some molds of clay. I'm sure Enos has ring molds in his materials.
I would probably ask Enos for, because I don't think you're using them right now.
The voxels, yeah. If Enos doesn't mind letting you use his ring molds, that, like I said, I'm sure he has in his goldsmithing kit. I do not think you need necessarily a roll to just pour metal into mold, let it sit.
Yeah, I'm literally, because I want to make this myself also, but I don't want to do anything fancy because I can't.
I would still feel like he should make some sort of roll just to see if he messes it up, because he will be handling hot metals and needs to pour it, pour it well.
I mean, that I think
Look
I
how
could
long
have
it
him roll
takes, I guess.
his
Yeah.
knowledge engineering on, because that's just
metalworking.
math and
Yeah,
and
I feel like
steadiness,
I've
'cause
done
he-
this
'cause he
before,
measured the
just not
proportion.
with this purpose.
yeah, makes
If
sense.
he measures his proportions correctly,
But
'cause
I
he's
will
not trying to
roll
do
for
anything
it.
fancy.
Yeah, no, but
I'm trying to make a pair of rings.
It's not gonna have any engravings on it, but they're rings.
I mean, they're gonna have letters on it, but
That'll be a step later, which will involve a different roll.
yes.
Yeah, no, Enos ain't closing the work wherever he is. Actually, no. Is there a goldsmith chapter in Highbower?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
Let me double check. They have
engineering. I think that one's only 70. Yeah, so 10. Oh wait, is that? Hold on.
no. There's no. There may be some shops with guild approval to sell goods, but there are not any. There's not a chapter house here. Jewelry is not one of their primary works.
Well, I also rolled that.
Sure, there will be. 4 Leaves is a what you call it, a trade hub.
Okay, don't fuck it up, but I may have invoked Satan.
At 3/6s, yeah, you can make the poor and follow the molds. It is the kind of thing where, like, again, doing artistic work, and like I said, if you want to put some letters on, that's probably gonna have you make a different roll.
Yeah, that one I might. No, I still want to do it on my own, but it might look tacky, so it'll be what it'll be.
Yeah. But you can as an alchemist, and with your various trainings, it's pretty
I'm
easy
adept at not spilling shit.
Yes, you can break out the weights and measures. You can figure out, okay, I need this many ounces of liquid orichalcum to pour in mold.
I just look at Inos, it's like, oh, the worst that'll happen is I'll just burn my skin. Oh, that's nothing.
Yeah. You know how to wear gloves and a leather apron, and that's it.
I'm not a psycho like some of the people at the academy.
Yes, in this open barrel I keep my universal solvent.
Yeah, no, I've pointed this out. I think I've pointed this out before, but Nicola describes himself as much more safety conscious as most of the alchemical college. He thinks they're all weird.
A decent number of alchemists at the alchemical college are mostly focused on just, hey, can I master this spell? And then it comes later of like, all right, good, you've successfully created a couple jars full of alkast of universal solvent. What are you going to do with it? I don't know. I was just making sure I did it right. Okay, cool. Now we have what?
We'll put it in the back of the other barrels of it.
The college probably has a couple of like quads or storerooms where students just go to get rid of stuff in a funny way. You melt some rocks with alkahest, or you throw alchemist fires.
I guess I do have a question.
Yeah.
Does Elvish have a lettering system in this world?
Yes, I do believe it has an alphabet and a script.
Okay, that's easy. Then I am going to set up a stencil probably, because I don't know if I'm gonna set a stencil up of a. It'd probably be two. I realize now it'll probably be 2 letters each. Let me get. I need to look at something first. A-H and A-C. Yes. But in Elvish script.
Yep.
I feel like that will be very basic.
Yeah. Well, buddy, if you're gonna do it by hand, I'm gonna have you. Well, it would technically be expert goldsmith, which I think is coordination. That's what I put it under. Yeah, so it's gonna be your raw coordination, bud. I can give you a one die bonus for having the stencil. That's it.
Can I make an argument that this is part of my mission?
Well, what's your current mission text?
My current mission text is to make sure Alias has an enjoyable time during our journey around country. And one of the recipients of this gift is him.
All right, you can milk one more die.
I don't know.
No, okay, wait,
okay,
no.
4 dice.
Wait, no. I'll argue this, but Omega's gonna do Jinx.
Well, we need to see what he rolls. How many dice are you rolling for this?
4.
4 total. Okay,
let's
see. Let's see. He got his 4th dice, so we'll see.
Oh no, that was the 4th. I'm not counting the mission.
Like, I personally don't think the mission.
Yeah, no, I agree with Lucky. I was just trying. You know me, I try.
Yeah, I know you.
The mission is pretty close to being assumed. I would say, this is a decent step, but it's not. I actually no. Yeah, I will say no because you're there's 2 steps to this process. All right.
Yeah.
So, to anybody who doesn't read Elvish, you have some very flowing script. If anybody does read Elvish, you've done the equivalent of Comic Sans. You've written the letters like a 5-year-old would write them in kindergarten.
Well, at least they still are as long as they actually just say the letters, right?
Yes. No, you have
It's
not
gonna
misspelled.
Say, it's not
But
gonna say
it is,
like
as
fucking,
you say, it is like you said, it is very crude.
It's not gonna
Because
say
you're.
fucking like.
By the way, to do this, because you only have one arm, you're gonna need to like put these in a vice and then strap the like gold chisel to it and like
if anyone
hit the hammer
sees
with your
me
teeth
in
or
this
something.
process, I'm gonna look like a fucking dork.
I think Enos would just fucking facepalm at looking at this.
Enos is busy.
Yeah,
Enos,
yes.
if you glance over your shoulder and see what this guy's doing, like I said, he's got he probably needs like a couple different straps and vices to like one to hold the ring, one to hold the chisel, and then actually like
I'm probably
tap the
using
hammer
my
with his one good hand.
using my legs to help keep it in place.
Yeah, like it's
Enos is not gonna say anything. The first step of being good at anything is to first suck at something.
yes.
Let's accept that you suck, and then let's accept you could be better.
So you have made the objects, and like I said, but
I made 2 rings.
your details.
It's
a
probably
little
not
crude, but it's
hidden
fine.
who they're for, considering the only other person I would be making a gift for is coming with us. So, isn't she?
No,
Or is she going back first?
she's going with. She's going with Ayla.
Okay, no, I thought so. I thought Narissa was coming with us.
No, she's going back.
Okay. Wait, no, she is going back?
Yeah, I mean she's not leaving on the boat with you.
No,
Well,
remember,
I'll
they're not
make her a
married yet.
housewarming
We haven't even started planning the wedding.
I'll make her a gift for when she comes to Winter Court. Or Summer
yes.
Court.
Yes, he got it. Luckily, I have through the power of. Yes, gang, I am checking if the intended recipients speak no. Alias and Agave only have a couple in wing, as discussed.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And I will
Anybody
put
else
them
cramming
in
some
nice
last-minute work?
boxes.
Now, boxes will be, you can get, lacquer boxes, a little felt. Okay.
No, I'm good. I'm waiting for something else to happen first.
All right. That means the
That's
day
ominous.
dawns. It's a new day, as we discussed last time, but I will reiterate. The boat will not be prepared until at least a couple hours into the morning. Basically, mid-morning, because they're going to let, morning fishing and early morning business kind of go and, make sure the weather is proofed, and then they'll set up the boat and get you on your way. We'll be serving a late breakfast when you're underway. So you guys have a couple hours to make sure you're all packed up and prepared.
Konrad will make sure he's all packed, and then let everyone know he's going to head out into the town for a while. If you need to find me, I'll be at the fencing schools.
Okay.
Would Inos be?
Curious. Question mark.
Yeah. I don't think it takes a genius to understand that Konrad's gonna go probably beat up some dudes.
Yeah, he's been wanting to fight people for a few days.
Do I want to watch?
Oh, yeah,
I feel like,
there was a thing like that.
yeah. Moira doesn't care. She doesn't have anything to prove. But I do feel like out of this, like, actually, no, I think between the two of them, probably like, I imagine like Aurelia like arches an eyebrow, looks over at Huron, and is like, "Oh, this I have to see." So the two younger siblings will tag along.
Okay.
What is Darissa doing right now?
Probably not much. Like just
Okay.
doing what the rest of you doing, making sure all of her stuff's packed.
Against Nicola's better judgment, he trusts you not to get into trouble.
Well, it's not that far away, but
yeah, no, Narissa would just be making sure things are in order.
because Leslok will, I think, try to. He'll try to make a case, sir, that I'd like you to go see what Konrad is doing. He's going to be going to fencing schools, and I think it's worth you seeing what he's like when he's just fully being himself.
You'll probably succeed. Make me a Graces roll.
Yeah.
Just to
I
try
wish Axe had
basically
drinks.
to explain
Try to
this
make
one.
it sound fancier.
Yeah, I don't think fascinated in this case because, like, generally, Narissa is interested in your opinions and what you have to say. This is like I would like you to frame this in such a way as to like get your argument across, basically, of like.
Is this a not put my foot in mouth roll?
No, I don't think it was that bad. It's just
I enforced that, but it was like
eights. Okay, I was worried for
give
a
me
second.
give me how it sounds better. Give me how it sound better.
I mean, like I said, I think you got your point across without being too awkward. But I wanted you to make a Graces roll because in character, I think Leslok would have to frame this as not just like you could tell her straight up, and I think you probably do. Like I think you should, see my brother in action, but probably to like frame this as like, I'm trying to find the best way for me to phrase it. What I was hunting for here is like
Introduction to like family traditions.
and not tradition, but basically,
Like
I wanted you to make a
family-ness.
Graces roll to find a way to, as we said, politely phrase the fact of like, hey, I want you to get to know my brother better. And by doing, and the way you're going to do that is by seeing him beat some dudes up. It's that second part you need the Graces
Oh yes,
for.
it's like to see how he goes against actual people of similar skill or maybe even greater. It's so on. Like
Yeah, like that's it took me a second for me to find it, but yes, no, we need the Graces is because, like I said, you're gonna be framing it as Conrad's gonna go fight some dudes, and like we've talked about this, Narissa's not necessarily against observing that, though she is not a fencer per se, but like I said, she is still the fifth princess, so finding a polite way to like, probably phrasing it something like, oh, my brother's going out on the town to demonstrate his skill to the locals. We should go see, because, he hasn't really had a chance to show off all trip, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, we found it. Got it. So, Conrad, you go out and you probably have a distant but slightly funny, like, I want to say duckling trail, because probably like, 15 or so paces behind you are your two younger siblings, and then probably, another 10 or 15 paces behind them is Leslok and Narissa. So like, not quite like the Scooby-Doo stack, but just like, you got a couple people interested in where you're going or what you're doing, but they're spread out a little. So how do you want to go about this?
Conrad he has his normal weapon, his greatsword, strapped to his back, but he also has a practice greatsword that he carries with him, like resting over his shoulder as he just heads over towards the nearest fencing college or school.
All right. What is?
I feel like Conrad could make some of like those like old style manuals at some point in his life.
You probably could write some manuals. Yeah, go ahead. Are you just gonna like open the front door and be like, "Who will face me?"
Tanamo!
Pretty much. He's like, I am Konrad of House Logi. I want some entertainment. Who will spar with me?
All right, make your pick of intimidate or fascinate.
Okay.
All right, I believe are our two primary taunt skills.
I don't think taking your sign is a thing in this culture yet.
No, there's probably not the equivalent of like taking the dojo plaque, but definitely like because there is fencing schools, and this is something I haven't got full details on, but I have discussed, there is technically a fencers guild, which basically exists only to certify schools to train duelists and bodyguards. Jesus.
Hey, 3 nuns.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're probably in the middle of like, morning drills. There's a couple of like, junior students and then there's some more like experienced students fencing, and I think one of them is just already in his practice gear and just like nods to his sparring partner, and they kind of back up, and he, just says, "Well, I'll take you on."
This is gonna be good.
Very good. I have a boat to catch, and I was afraid I wouldn't find anyone man enough to face me. I'll put the normal sword away and get ready to spar with him.
All right, yeah. Don't need to do a full combat. Make me just your weapon skill roll.
Okay.
Right, you have a master out of that.
Why not?
Yeah.
Sweet. Showing your stuff, bro. 410.
Gee,
Five tens.
Jesus.
Well, I decided to go behind the back and roll D1 real quick. This guy got 2 10s, but that doesn't beat 5 10s. Yeah, I think you just, he puts on the fucking, grill-faced helmet, and you just clonk him on top of the head with a blow that, would, if this was a live blade, would have just,
Cut him in half.
Yeah, basically, split him from collarbone to girdle. This guy just passes out. He's just knocked out cold. Clonk.
Oops.
Bonk.
He probably would have caught you with a tap to the face, but you just clang.
If that was a real effect, I would have killed anyone.
Just cry out next. Like, does Konrad want to keep going?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think with 5 10s, I don't need you to keep making rolls.
Like, Konrad is doing this for entertainment, but he is also trying to learn about, like, their style while he's doing it, so...
Go ahead and then, in that case, make me a knowledge plus tactics roll to observe their skills. But I'm going to say with, like, a 5 with, you probably go through about 5 of these fights in under an hour, and most of them are probably going to be about the same level. You do probably attract a couple of the higher-skilled students to actually spar with you and maybe get some... back and forths.
Pair of 3s.
2 3s, okay. You probably do actually get to a couple of, like I said, like higher level students, or maybe even like technically low level instructors to actually take you on and get some back and forth. But at the, eventually those will probably end with them just realizing like, nope, you've got it. With your tactics roll though, so these guys are classical fencers. They are using rapiers. So probably the equivalent martial path they are teaching would be the noble dueling one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which Konrad does have 1 rank in that esoteric discipline. So
yeah, so you're familiar with the basic techniques. You probably see a couple of more advanced moves. Like a lot of rapier fencing is about parrying, blade control, and then your really advanced levels, it's a lot about, kind of the back and forth, the mind games,
Mm-hmm.
If you attack, they parry. Where does their blade end up versus where your blade ends up? If you do a feint, you can get their guard to go up and then create an opening for a follow-up attack. But then, eventually it turns into the mind chess of like, well, I know, that I know, that that if I parry to the outside, you're going to try to go to the inside. So I'm going to, cross step and body check you, and then you're gonna be like, haha, but I knew you would do that, so I'm not going to be there. So like I said, you actually get some exchange of blows with some of the higher level students and see some new tricks. And yes, they are very focused on the style, and probably most of these schools are teaching their students to fight in probably a little more conservative, a little more defensive way. Like, a lot of the students are probably either like lesser nobility, like untitled nobles, distant banner houses, or even knightly families.
Mhm.
A couple of them are going to be merchant families who have money and can pay for their kids to be trained in the rapier because that's more, it's much more gentlemanly of you. But like, so most of these guys are being trained just enough so that they can ideally not be stuck with a rapier and maybe score some points in a tournament. A few of them, though, have some real talent, like I said, that you square up on. But the focus is, like I said, mostly in training people to survive dueling.
Yeah. Well, Konrad will make a point to have a drink with everyone all of them that he fights along the way. So
the first poor son of a gun, they gotta like douse with cold water to wake him up. But I think your future opponents probably like give up after taking a couple of taps or just realizing that like, no, this guy's got it. Because like you're greatsword fencing, which means you want to talk about like blade control. You have a lot of reach and control to work with.
Yeah, because my primary first attack for all of them is bat the blade and then strike.
Yeah, which is just like, again, most of these guys are just not ready for. Like I said, they are planning to parry like rapiers or sabers. So you get a little extra weight and a little extra zip, and they're just like,
They're not expecting. I don't think they're expecting you for like to have that much reach and speed.
Yeah, this is the thing we've talked about before off mic, but greatswords are fast, actually. They're not that heavy, but they are heavier than a rapier blade.
Yeah.
Probably after a couple of the matches, there's like, Huron and Aurelia offer some like polite smattering of applause.
And all after like the sparring is all the Konrad will also like field any questions that they have about the style he was using. He doesn't mind sharing that information, so.
Yes, I think, and Konrad can take it however he likes. I feel like the kind of questions you're gonna get is actually like the younger and more junior students are the one who are like genuinely more interested in your style. A lot of the older students, and even like I said, some of the instructors who decide to square up with you, they're a little more set in their ways, so they don't. I won't say their questions are so far as to be like, how would you defeat yourself kind of a thing, but like they're definitely feel more locked into their fighting style. But the younger people are actually genuinely like, oh, how do you, is it really that easy, to use the greatsword? How did you, pull that one technique off?
Lots of upper body strength. Practice, that just like the usual sort of like insight that someone would give a young swordsman.
All right.
And after the first school, I will check see what time it is.
Honestly, if you're willing to play that first one out, you're probably about an hour in. It's still relatively early in the morning. I guess it depends. Like, you could probably do one more school like that. It depends, I guess, on how much of a sweat you want to work up and how much you want to cut close being late to the boat.
Nah, it's good enough.
All right. As you guys are walking back, I think to actually put a point on it, Nerissa will close the distance and we'll probably make some polite observations, just like, you have a master die, so like obviously she's like, very impressive swordsmanship. It is interesting to see that the greatsword style is a little closer, at least, to fighting with a polearm than I would say with a one-handed sword.
Yes, I've noticed the same thing. I've seen various people fight with pole arms and spears and stuff, and there are some similarities. Quite obviously, there's a lot more swipes and swings that more than just thrusts. In some cases, Konrad will converse with her about the differences between the weapons and the styles and stuff like that. So
yes, she'd have some comments. Like I said, there's one of the advantages of the spear is you can, because it's a haft, not a blade, you can choke up a lot more. I think the best you can do with the greatsword is like half sword it, and even then you need to be wearing a glove for that. Or have your sword specially made so that you can half sword it.
Yeah.
Whereas with a spear, and probably have like a a side point about like, oh well, depending on the spear, you can technically slash with the edges, but the thrust is better. Yeah, no, she's spear 3, sword 1, so definitely has a lot more to say about spearing. And I will say that it's probably, yeah, I believe Konrad actually did like wander around Weirwood Keep a little and like check in with some of the drills. So you've seen a little bit of others doing her fighting style. I would definitely say that's the interesting thing about the dragon dancer style as opposed to like some of the polearm fighting that you've seen up in Norlon is those are usually with like glaives, halberds, like heavy blades,
one
Logesh
suitable
uses a
for
protege kind of a thing.
killing monstrum.
Yeah, that's like we need the reach of a pike, but we need the heavy hit of like an axe head or a sword blade because monstrum are scary and lots of them have armor, so you want to do a lot of damage. And you've seen, I mean, you've actually, did you guys? I think you guys straight up skipped the joust the first year, but you've seen some jousting and like probably seen some demonstrations of horsemanship. That's all about like maximizing the charge so that you just, a spear or lance is preferable in those cases because you're putting not just all the weight of the lancer, but also all the weight of the horse behind a very small point, which means you do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
The Dragon Dancer is more of like, it's an on-foot style, so it's more about like mobility and range control, basically. So, her style of fighting is a lot more acrobatic and loose than some people you've seen. And like I said, she's all the way up to 3rd rank, so she's got like the Dragoon dive technique, the actually like doing a fucking forward pole vault, with the blade. So, you throw the weight into it. It's easy. Lots of damage. No, that's the secret backstab technique. There isn't. But yeah, so you guys swap some tips and some stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure that over the course of conversation, it's quite clear that Konrad has been training with the sword for a very long time. Since he was very young.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Because obviously that's kind of the direction he was originally going before certain events happened. Is like, I'm just going to be good with sword.
That's all I need in
my
life, right?
will not
Sword?
be more important.
Yeah.
And then Konrad learned you can't sword all of your problems.
Nope.
Yeah.
Has Konrad learned that yet?
I actually think yes. No, Konrad's learned a lot about other higher level tactical planning and investigation so that you may find people you may hit with your sword.
Yes.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
You locate your problems. Yeah, so you guys, stroll back to the boat. Plenty of time. Everybody bundles into the riverboat. If you guys have any more, points or questions with people you want to raise while you're in Highbower, feel free. Otherwise, the boat time.
Oh, yeah, no.
No.
The boat.
And I will. This is the next place is our last stop, right?
Yep.
Gotcha.
The last part.
So yeah, no, nothing on Highbower.
All right. So your boateth ride toward Four Leaves.
Yay.
So you've got a flat-bottomed riverboat. It's got a slightly raised second deck if you want to stand up, or it's got a covered awning, so you can be in the shade. They go downstream using oars, punts, and sometimes a small sail. But it's springtime; the natural current will carry you most of the way, and basically your boat will be kickstarted by being moored to a couple of draft animals, oxen or draft horses, to get you a little bit of starting speed, and then just on your way down the river. You know, they undo the lines and cast off.
Cast off.
Like I said, a little bit of a late breakfast. Not meant to be, super filling or hearty, but will still be high quality. Sliced melons and peaches, bread basket, muffins with raisins and cherries, porridge with honey, boiled eggs, and a little bit of, yogurt flavored with spices. And yes, you guys do have access to the yogurt.
The yogurt.
Yogurt.
Konrad certainly eats his fill to make up for all the energy he used this morning.
Yep. Probably a couple of the extra boiled
Nicola
eggs.
will as well.
Nom, 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 nom.
And yeah, so you've got somewhere between, 2 and 3 hours to get there. It's not an exact.
Okay.
Just on your little boat. There's a little clear space on the foredeck. You've got the covered awnings and a second deck. As was discussed previously, Prince Menas is here. He is going down as well because that's the way he gets back to his destination of the Palais Kowloon, Palace of Moonlight. But he will kind of keep himself separate from the rest of your party. Spend most of his time standing on a railing looking out. Any boat talking you wish to do?
Yes. So, Inos is going to look out for an opportunity when Prince Alias may be, I wouldn't say alone, as I assume that he keeps a lot of people around him, but maybe standing a bit away from others.
There's probably a point, yes, where he, goes up onto the like I said, the foredeck.
Mhm.
Looks out over the front railing. As you say, there are probably like a couple of his blood shields within, stone's throw distance at all times, but they do seem to at least like to give the prince a decent amount of space.
Mhm.
You probably see this moment when, for one reason or another, the prince asks something of Agave Cheval, and she, heads off to go do whatever bit of business he was talking about.
So Enos will, slide up next to the crown prince and just be like, hang on, I have to think about my Enos voice here for a second.
It's been a while.
It's been a little bit. It's been a while. It's like, good morning, your highness. A crown for your thoughts.
Well, I think neither one of us has a particularly high need of crowns. But he kind of looks out over the horizon and says, "No, I am simply... How do they say? Taking in the scenery."
Enos will look out upon the scenery, and I'm guessing it's just like, that slow-moving countryside and the river.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Just the Trefoil River is fairly big, a little deep. There's reeds and cattails growing along the sides. You probably occasionally pass, a few water mills or water wheels on one side or the other. At a couple of where the river is sufficiently broad and deep, you actually go under some bridges.
Enos takes it in for a moment. He's like, yes, it is quite, what's the word? Idyllic, gentle, peaceful. It is quite nice.
Some of my teachers at school would say picturesque, but as we've discussed, I'm not as great of a painter as some people we know.
Indeed.
And I think that holding the boat to capture a sketch of a water wheel would be an inelegant use of princely authority.
Enos is just having the errant thought, wondering if Princess Estelle would stop the boat so she can sketch a water wheel.
Is it bad that my thought wasn't the bureaucratic holding the boat, but that Alias was just gonna walk up and pick up the fucking boat? This is mine now.
I licked it. I claim it as my own.
He just has an empty slot in his hotbar and just
Just slurps it up.
Whoop! That goes in my pocket.
But Inos looks out onto the scenery once more and turns back. Your Highness, if I may make an observation, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that things between you and the second prince may not be so idyllic and or picturesque.
His face doesn't fall, but he definitely goes from like kind of a little like, wry corner smile to a little more pursed lip and just kind of like slowly nod and responds. Yes, I suppose that much is obvious to even a casual observer.
Well, no. Lord Alias, I've had the pleasure of interacting with you on several occasions, and I enjoy it. Especially when I see you interacting with Princess Estelle. You two seem like siblings. Oh, yes, you get on each other's nerves, you might not always work on the same angles, but you're family. That much is evident. When I see you and the second prince interact, it seems far too professional for family. It's completely not my place to ask and really intrude. As I said, this is the matter for the royal family, I suppose. But unfortunately for you, I am not of men. I have my iron demon. I can skip over a couple of those steps. So
he kind of, a little bit of the good humor comes back to his eyes, and he kind of crosses his arms and looks at you and says, "Well, I suppose you do have a habit of it."
Yeah. So, but Inos goes on. It's like, so as an ally and confidant, I do wish to ask: is everything all right between you and the second prince?
And he just kind of pauses consider for a second, and then kind of puts a hand, maybe leans a little heavily on the railing, and well, unfortunately, I think to get the answer to that question, Master Inos, you'd have to ask the second prince. To my accounting, I have tried to be as... He thinks about it for a minute. Forthcoming, fair, welcoming even to my younger brother as both an older brother and a future monarch could be. As you have said, my sister is definitely her own person, despite the great efforts of mother, father, two older brothers, tutors. I should include Paloma in that discussion as well. Her Cavalier is, well, I can't say long-suffering due to their age, but you know what I mean. But, as you say, we have, at least what I assume based on the other nobles I've met, a perfectly normal familial relationship. Menace and I don't want to say that we've never seen eye to eye, but his motives and attitudes are opaque, even to me, most of the time. I would love to simply say that he resents me for being born first and destined to wear the crown, but I've never heard him express a desire for the crownship out loud, anyway. Could I say that he is upset or feels left out because father has spent so much of his time preparing me for the next step? I cannot. Does he resent me for being practiced in swordsmanship with Mother? Well, I should certainly hope not, as after all, he was tutored in swordsmanship by the Lord Chamberlain, our uncle, the Marquess of Spada. I do not know exactly what it is he wants to do or why, because when I ask about these things, I get, a sly little smile and a comment about, "Oh, brother, should you be worrying about such things? You've got so much to do." And the problem is, Alias actually kind of like raps a little hard on the railing of the boat. He's right. I do have lots of things to concern myself with. Father offered, after the previous Lord Cursor retired, to give me the position. Put me on the High Council, introduced me to all the lords, that sort of thing. And so I took it. And well, you know me, Inos. As you said, we've conversed before. I am not the kind to take a position and just sit in it like a sack of flour. So I take the work seriously. I take being the Crown Prince very seriously as well. And I would like to take being an older brother seriously, and I do, but I don't know, I feel like every time I try and offer something or acquiesce somewhere or show interest, Menace simply rebounds on me, thinking that I'm, simply pitying him or trying to offer him something, like the rich brother trying to bail a poor brother out. Which is a terrible shame, because he really is a genuine inquisitive mind. He's a quite talented scholar and a talented swordsman. I think he would be perfectly suited to a dozen different positions across the kingdom. He kind of, once again, glances aside at you, and maybe a little around aside where Menace is boldly, sitting facing the opposite direction on the railing, his hair flowing in the breeze. The hair length is correct, like I said. The portrait, his Menace's coloring is like he's kind of like lighter skin, still got a little bit of the rosy complexion all of his siblings has, but his hair color and eye color is, like dark, more like the Stormcloud gray or polished steel color you would expect from somebody from Espada lands. So like, he does have kind of, long flowing hair that can dramatically blow in the breeze.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of like I said, the Alias kind of glances around and is like, if I were to offer him those positions, he would probably laugh at me. He wouldn't want to feel like I was giving him a position just 'cause. But even if I tried to tell him that he has earned these things through his own merits, well, he just doesn't seem to want to hear it from me. Kind of lets out a little sigh and says, "So, as I said, if you wish to know how things stand between us, you would have to ask him." Alias does kind of chuckle and say, "Unless, of course, his opinion is simply the reverse of mine, and we've just managed to misunderstand each other all these years."
Inos kind of sighs. You'd be surprised how often that actually happens. But, unfortunately, I do not feel... sorry, this is Lucky actually losing his train of thought mid-sentence.
It's fine. Look it out.
Unfortunately, I don't believe that I have the level of camaraderie and closeness with the Second Prince as I do with you. I'm pretty sure I can't just go strolling over to his railgun and ask, "Hey, Second Prince, please tell me all your secrets and how you really feel." Even if I am damn good looking.
This actually gets Alias to have a genuine smile, and he says, "Well, I'd certainly like to see you try. I wonder what the response to that conversation would be. You're just as likely to get a simple no as, a seize him."
Well, if you give me back that crown for your thoughts, I'll do it.
I feel like Alias, just kind of like pats his pockets and is like, "How suspicious. I feel that the crown was a metaphor in the first place. You'll have to wait. You'll have to wait a hopeful, long number of years before there are any crowns minted in my name.
Then I'll hold you to it. But with that, Inos is going to, stroll and head over to the second prince.
Okay, all right. Let's see. Do you have an opener, or are you just gonna kind of like settle in a position next to him?
Yeah, it's just a good morning, Your Highness. You are looking fantastic in this wind and sunlight, if I do say so myself.
Go ahead and roll fascinating. let's see how good this is. Hold on. I gotta see.
Wait. Hang on. Nah, this is a boat. No, Inos is fucking veil off.
This won't be the dumbest conversation on this boat, so...
Where is... Oh, that's because I'm in the wrong fucking document. That would explain why. Like, why can't I find my stuff?
Wrong tab.
So, by the way... Oh. So...
3 10s.
3 10s.
Yeah, because it's Beauty 3. All right. You hit him with your best dazzling smile. Like I said, you approach, you slide right in, and I'm like, shit, do I have you roll empathy right now? No, we'll let the conversation simmer a little. You've successfully fascinated, so you are personable, charming, and interesting. So first of all, obviously, Second Prince does acknowledge your presence. Like he does when you call, he does actually like look over his shoulder. And I believe this was in my notes earlier, but to remind people, unlike Alias, who even on this grand tour with a large party is traveling with a very minimal amount of blood shields, Menace does not appear to have any traveling party at all. He is just freewheeling it. So yeah, you are unaccosted to approach. And he just kind of just like, glance over his shoulder, and he sees your personal stuff, and he just kind of there's a little bit of a pause. Inos, you probably have the distinct impression that nobody's quite tried this exact approach before. And then he kind of like nods to you and says, well, it always pays to be well groomed and well presented, does it not?
Oh, most well indeed. There's nothing wrong with looking your absolute best at all times. It's like, am I bothering you? You seem to be deep in thought about something.
I would like you to roll empathy now, yes. This is not opposed, because I don't think he's trying to hide something, but I would actually like to see if you could get a read on this situation.
I'm taking my duty here to protect Iron Demons and allies, because I do consider Alias my ally, and I want to know what's going on between the two of them, and if this, I should be actually fucking concerned.
Doesn't help that Omega keeps using Scar's accent for him.
So, yes, a pair of 7s.
Yes, so when you ask, I hope I'm not bothering you, he kind of pauses for a second. With that empathy roll, you kind of see the internal math there. Menas is debating, like he basically does a quick check-in with himself. Am I bothered? Is he bothering me? And then the answer is no, not really. But you do, with a successful roll, catch a second calculation in there, which is, do I pretend to be bothered anyway? But since you rolled effectively 3 10s on your fascinate. He does ultimately decide no, and kind of, excuse you, Jesus. Does kind of just make a little bit of a sweeping gesture, which includes both the railing and the, countryside rolling by you, and say, no, not at all.
So Inos will, slide into his DMs.
Yep.
And, take in the countryside. It's like, quite a lovely view we have here. Idyllic. Picturesque, even? If I was a painter, I might want to take a sketch.
He has his usual kind of like slight half smile and just kind of nods and says, yes. Your grasp of the humanities is quite good, Master Inos.
Oh, I didn't have to do all that studying in the knowledge of men for nothing. Unfortunately, the Iron Demons wouldn't know a peaceful riverside if one stood up and kicked him in the backside.
Yes. It is to my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that, while obviously your people understand pigments quite well, as we make most of them from metals and stones, that visual painting is not a traditional Iron Kindred art style. Metalworking, obviously, and stone carving, I believe, well, they're the examples I've seen, anyway, in books and museums.
Yes. Those are definitely our most highly regarded works. Ever since more trade has been opening up with the Kingdom Man, we have been getting a bit more, and there are a few more adventurous sorts out there trying new things. It's quite interesting. I should probably check back in on them when I return. It's like, oh, that reminds me, I do want to thank you for your recommendation of the, Enos will list the title of the book that,
the sword book.
The sword book. And so, I did find it a most fascinating ring. It will be quite helpful in the coming days. It's I'm quite impressed that you're able to just name something off the top of your head. It's like, oh, I usually have to go reference or references or pay other people to remember such things.
Consult our
It is
walking
one of the few talents
encyclopedia.
I can call my own.
Mm.
As you've seen, I'm sure, my elder brother is the picture-perfect example of a crown prince. And my dear sister is, again, kind of, quirks his lip a little. Well, she is the baby of the bunch, which means she can go about her business being, how shall we say? He kind of, tilts his head at you a little, like he's letting you in an inside joke, and says, if you were to tell her this conversation later, which adjective would make it less likely to get my foot trod upon? Certainly not rebellious. Adventurous, perhaps?
Independent.
Free-spirited.
You're editorializing me already for me. Thank you. Yes, she is the independent one. Mostly because I think Mother tried a little too hard to baby her.
Oh, as happens with the youngest ones. But between the picture-perfect crown prince and the independent, independent baby of the group, what does that put you, Your Highness?
Ah, yes. The oft thought of but rarely mentioned second son. I'll let the empathy ride. You can tell he's taking a little bit of the piss out of himself here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my brother is well schooled in all matters political, economic, and military. And also, somehow, he has the audacity to have improved the office of the King's couriers. He should leave some work for the rest of us. But alas, that is not his way. You can't bureaucracy your way out of all your problems, though. No, if I would have to say the art I am best at is of the words. As you said, You asked a simple book recommendation, and I gave it. I have lots of time to spend in the libraries, and having read most of the ones in Le Chateau Dragon, I've had to find farther afield. Since, he kind of idly, brushes some fluff or maybe, a stray leaf off his shirt sleeves. And of course, since father has graced me with dominion over the Palais Clairlune, the Moonlight Palace, I have set about expanding its private library collection. So obviously there are many tomes I am reading. I've been a little fascinated by poetry as well and other forms of the spoken word, and a little bit of languages. I would offer to practice some deep speech, but sadly that is one of the ones that is my roughest. Regrettably, with your peoples being so far away, and so little of your, well, if I would even call what examples we have had brought over here literature, mostly just stone carvings that happen to have captions. He kind of goes back and forth. As we've discussed, the printing press is a late adoption even for the Iron Demons, so you guys are not big on big slabs of books.
Well, I'll keep it in mind whenever we start mass producing our books. We'll be able to. I'll make sure to send copies to the Moonlight Palace. You say?
Quite. As much as I would love to spin your little tour over there, I understand. Obviously, we're all very busy people. Many busy things to do. I'm sure my brother has many other factors to go.
Inos slightly tilts his
head back across the sea to Nolan. Though perhaps he shoots an eye at where. I imagine I'm just imagining under the awning there's probably Leslok, Narissa, and Kefis sitting, Logesh probably standing over one shoulder, and they're all just kind of like idly chatting over what's left of breakfast or reading or something.
Likely.
Something nerds do.
Nerds.
Fucking nerds.
But yes, Menace observes, though I believe a stopover in Tron along the way.
Yes. Like I said, I wouldn't consider myself necessarily well-read, but I do consider myself a scholar of religious matters, and I find myself amiss if I did not take the time to visit Ashtican Hill and visit the libraries there.
Of course.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say strong-armed. I just made a very well-made case for stopping by Tron and taking care of a few things there. Probably be a few days. Saying hello to House Verity, some of the Banner houses, visiting Ashtican Hill. Lots of running around, lots of talking to people, lots of reading. Should be relaxing.
As one does on a scholarly trip. One of the advantages of being the oft-forgotten flexible second prince is that I do often get to travel. My blood shields do not always appreciate it. As you can see, I have sent them on ahead about other affairs.
Well, that explains that.
Venice is wearing a sword, by the way. Like, he wears a rapier. So, he probably kind of, like, idly taps it with his... Oh, do I want to be... At what point do I want to be? No, I think he's got a... him and Alias are both right-handed draws. So he kind of, like, idly taps it with his offhand and says... Not that I think anyone would bother, but I can look after myself. My lord uncle has certainly seen to that. Shit, actually, I forgot. There's another thing I should have mentioned. He hasn't needed to roll these skills, but I do want to say that I think I've mentioned this before, but to remind everybody, Prince Menas is one of the few people you've encountered who is as hot as Inos is. He is Beauty 3.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys are
No.
just chilling right now, like you're a fucking magazine cover right now.
Yes. No. No. This isn't a magazine cover. This is a fucking shoujo eye cover.
No, let's go something that's even
I hope
more
there's no
hot.
rotten girls on
Two-
board.
Actually, no, I was more
Two
thinking
beautiful men talking on the deck of a boat overlooking an idyllic scene.
Nah.
this is just a CG out of a BL story because both those dudes would be just ungodly hot.
But
No, but
Standing
No, the
5 feet
problem is-
apart is okay.
the problem is with BL is they have weird proportions.
Okay, we're
Fucking
not, we're not
hands,
going
man.
into this. We're not going into
We can talk about the hands. All right. Yes.
Well,
Anyway.
you
I'm
mean
talking
the
about hands.
yaoi hands?
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but yes.
Anyway, Menace talks about how he does get a chance to travel a little and basically go to places and try and dig up forgotten lore. Though before you can respond to that line, he does kind of slightly change the subject because he kind of like catches you with another side glance and does actually seem a little more serious. Some of the little slight smirk he always has fades. He puts his forward as a neutral face, and he's like, though obviously it is not just scholarship that draws some to the hill. Are you or any of the party planning on undertaking pilgrimage to the top of the mountain?
I'm not sure. I would like to have the experience, and we are the religious enough, but I do believe that the Marquis is... is it Marquis or Marquess? I forgot again.
We do always be... I always say it Marquess.
Marquess.
English.
The Marquess does seem very eager to get back to his homeland. But if the gods allow, maybe we can try anyway. Why do you ask?
I do recommend it.
Oh.
It is a... Well, he does kind of like, again, take a... kind of tilt his head in a way that... What's the best way to phrase this? You get the impression that Prince Menas actually, like, tries to catch himself when he starts to say something that might be a little anthrocentric, a little human-focused. Like, he actually seems to have a while he's not a perfect student of all the other kindred cultures, he does at least seem to be one of the probably rarer people you've met who thinks about these things and is aware when he's saying something that's a little more like I said, human first. So he kind of like pauses and redirects a thought to be, well, it is said that all men should see the thrones at least once in their life, and quite a lot of people go and see them many times. I'm not quite sure if it would be the same experience for yourself, but certainly it is. He actually, does pause, lets out a breath, gets kind of serious, and it's like, it is an experience that is unique. There is something about the land there that is not quite the same no matter where you go. At least, not as far as I've traveled.
I see. Well, Your Highness, I'll take that. I will take that suggestion quite seriously. I'll bring it up with the Marquis when I speak to him soon.
I'm sure the Marquis will have quite a debate about it. He kind of, arches an eyebrow at where Leslok is and says, if the House of Logi does not mind a casual comment from the House of the Dragon, I would say that your young Marquess is not the picture-perfect example of a young lord, but he's trying his hardest. He kind of actually does pause to, like, rub his chin a little and kind of say, his very square, perfect chin with the heroic cleft in there. says, "Well, you may feel free to editorialize my comments however you like. I would say that the Marquess is a bit of a scholar, perhaps even a little bit of a schoolboy who has unfortunately need to catch up very rapidly to his position. It's a terrible shame. Under different circumstances, I'm quite certain I would like to discuss more matters, but as you say, he's quite busy, and he does, I'm sure, have many interesting, bold, important tasks to take care of in the march."
And like slightly bows, and it's like I will relay your comments with minimum edits. But
Menace kind of chuckles and says, "Well, I suppose if he takes schoolboy as an insult, that can be settled another way."
Meanwhile, everyone in the family constantly just calls him nerd.
Well, I don't actually know what are
I think you said to my face.
comments. I don't know if anybody nerd would not be.
Nicola
I also don't know if
brazenly
nerd's actually a
calls him
term
nerd.
in our vocabulary.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even think we would have the vocab for nerd. It's a very modern word.
But Inos, adapts a more serious face, and it's like, Your Highness, I am going to be a little bold here because I've noticed something when speaking to you. It's probably rude, but as you know, just a kindred from the furthest reaches of the lands, I believe I can be forgiven a little bit of barbarianism. I'm gonna use this line a lot.
Barbarism.
Well, no, the fact that I'm a fucking iron demon from fucking far away, I'm gonna try and get away with shit.
No, I understand, but it still would be
you?
barbarism.
I do not have. I don't have the full thing. I do not have the barbarian that has no
So
clothes.
you're not actually at the technique. The barbarian has no clothes. Okay.
Yes, but
I did want to double check.
Yeah.
For what thing is that? Like esoteric.
That's in the courtiers line. Basically, it plays off my third ability, which lets me use Oh shit! Hang on, I can explain it real quick.
Oh yeah, it's Courtesan's Fortune. Yeah.
Courtesan's Fortune. Yeah, because I have Romantic Outlaw Charm, which basically means I roll theater instead of graces. When I get Barbarian has no clothes, I basically don't fail Grace's checks. I don't succeed, but no one thinks I'm being rude. They're just thinking they're a fucking barbarian. They don't know any better.
You just play off as like,
he's just so weird and witty and unique.
Yeah.
It's like you play the tokenism card.
Pretty much.
So exotic.
So I'm basically doing that now, just no esoteric discipline in it. But as Inos was saying, it's like I've noticed how you speak of yourself and how you speak of the crown prince. You talk about him, making things better, working himself to death, picture perfect, yet calling yourself oft forgotten, unneeded. That's not what I would think. That's not what I would think of how one would describe himself, especially someone of your talents. And it's like, is there something eating at the second prince?
Well, go ahead and make your braces. I do not think graces would be. No, you'd only ever oppose graces if they were like two people were arguing a point.
Or two people were trying to have a I don't know what the term for it would be, but trying to impress the same person.
Yeah, like a third party involved somehow.
Yeah.
You would have to be either trying to convince the other or.
Yeah, I can use my charm, but I use my theater, and this is still me trying to figure things out. So yes, I can actually get the full 10.
Woo. I've been in and out of this conversation the whole time because it's gone for a while, but yeah.
Sorry, I only meant to talk to
fine.
Alias, but it was like he's like, "Oh, you have to ask him." And I was like, "Fine, I guess I will."
It's like I guess I'm chaining to another scene.
Yeah.
All right, so
Don't worry, I still have a conversation. I
you
have to
ask
do.
this. You have succeeded in your graces roll. So even though you, like you said, you're being a little rude, you managed to couch yourself in. You perform the role well enough that your point is gotten across without him necessarily being immediately shut down or offended.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of. No, yes, he would be the. He kind of like plays back to your theatrics a little. He strikes a slightly dramatic pose of being like, "Who, me?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then he waves it off and says, "Ah, well, I suppose, despite that I have heard some little of you from my brother and sister, we are not that well acquainted. I am merely having a personal joke. It is..."
It is what it is.
No, quiet.
You're like 20 feet over there.
1d4 guards appear and seize Logesh.
But he's the 1d4. But he's the 1d4 guards.
Oh,
No,
whoops,
wrong
that's
button.
a mistake.
Hold.
Yep. Hang on.
Hold.
Hold!
Oh, that's not.
No,
how
I
this
don't.
works.
I don't think D1 does it if you edit. He can't read the future.
Oh, damn!
Can't
All
predict
four
that.
came out.
No. He says, in my position, I am allowed to be more joking than I like, as I like. It is not that I am indeed truly unnoticed or unneeded. There are many things, obviously, that a second prince, or even a hypothetical third or fourth or so on prince can take care of for not just... Yes, he would in this moment phrase it as his king or his crown prince. But he does kind of, gesture to himself. As you can see, I am a different sort of striking figure than my brother. I am not some sort of glorious son who comes into... I am more of a... He kind of, tilts his chin up and thinks a little. Oh, I don't know. Well, if we're being dramatic, perhaps a dazzling moon. He kind of, again gives you a little bit of the sly smirk. He's working on his line. He's working on his tight five.
Mm-hmm.
That is how things are, and has kind of always how they have been. But as you say, I will say this as a genuine comment. As I said, I believe that my brother is a picture-perfect crown prince. He has done everything I would think and have been taught that a crown prince should do, and goes above and beyond. I am certain that in his own right, he will make a wonderful and successful High King someday. But, and yes, there is a but. I know, terrible. But, and you probably see the most serious look you've ever seen come across the second prince's face.
Yeah.
I fancy myself a student of history. There is so much knowledge we have. 100 generations. Actually, no, it wouldn't be 100. 1,000 years back, basically. Dozens of generations, hundreds of years. And knowledge from before the Covenant that we've lost or forgotten or discarded. There are knowledges of the kindred that they have kept to themselves simply because they would think no need to share it. And as you say with your own people and getting better at publishing books, there are knowledge that we men have held on to casually that we don't even realize that others may need. There are lands and seas beyond this Troy Corone that are oft unexplored. And, while it is not my nature to question religious scholarship, I must admit that I do not find myself mollified with tales of good virtue and thoughts and prayers. But in our understanding with the gods even, there are things as yet unsolved. And so my brother and I have a quiet, unspoken, until now, I dare say, disagreement on simply how things should be. That's not to say that I don't think my dear brother is not afraid to overturn a few apple carts in going about his business. I think you may find yourself shocked someday, Master Inos, to see what lengths he would go to do what he thinks is proper and just. But he kind of, again, pauses a little, and I guess the best way I can describe it is he does the equivalent of a modern gesture. You know, he's kind of doing like almost like the, framing a photo with your hands type gesture. Like he's using his hands to kind of capture a broader picture, literally. While I don't see myself as much of a painter, I am just so much more interested in the wider experience. Oh, I'm certain my brother could stick me in as Royal Librarian or Lord Magister or some other stuffy position, and it would be perfectly fine to move along and keep things on this world simply spinning. But he kind of turns to you and shoots you a little bit of a wink and a smile and says, "Where's the fun in that?"
Inos, lightly scoffs at that. Well, I can't say I don't understand that. It's like my own people have been doing things mostly the same for forever. Change is important. Inos doesn't necessarily elaborate more on that, and change the subject. But I see. Thank you for allowing my discourtesy, Your Highness. It's like, but with that, I do not believe I should intrude upon your good graces anymore. So, I will leave you to your privacy and to your mourning, your beautiful self. And with that,
course.
Before
you can go, he kind of folds his arm again and goes back to his not quite as serious face, but his medium serious face, and says, "And should you, Master Inos, ever find yourself in a time where you are perhaps more interested in that change than now, just think of your old friend. The subtle moonlight of the unchecked second prince."
It's like, Inos, serious face. It's like, I will indeed.
You can go ahead and roll empathy again. This one is going to be opposed. Also, it's very interesting, Leslok, thinking about that line, because I feel like some of the audience members did not necessarily get the full read of Second Prince. Luckily, they're not in this conversation, so your opinions have to be your own.
Yeah.
Unless Inos gets some extra insight. Yeah, that's the one I want to look at.
3/8.
Nice. That's pretty good.
It is pretty strong.
Ironically, I want to say that everybody think of like Conrad's roll earlier was like the best roll I think we've seen in the game so far.
The
overall.
what?
The 5/10.
5/10s?
Yeah, probably.
I think that is our best.
Alex is in the background doing something.
That's fine. I think most of us are doing in the background doing something. This is a
True
long.
enough.
This is a long conversation. A long two
Yeah, the
conversations.
conversation got a little.
I feel like we're going to have to like abbreviate the conversation. I was going to have a view, but eh.
All right. Okay. Unfortunately, your sets are gobbled, but only just. He also rolled 3/8 exactly. Which means you have no sets left.
What do you mean? I have
empathies.
I have a pair of twos.
This is not like resolving like an action. So the set you were going to use is your 8s, and they're up.
Okay.
There's probably I don't know if for empathy, but there's probably like esoteric disciplines where you can use substitute sets. But usually the way it works is you unless you're multiple actioning, you only get one set to use, and then he is actively defending, so they are gobbled. If I can my D1 go.
Alright, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Well, that's butts.
Yeah, it's a close match.
Well, he gets to continue being the Enigma person.
Yeah.
Oh.
I guess it means defenders have the. I guess that's the defender's perk of being if there's no result, it doesn't mean even a neutral answer.
Well, yeah, that's if you match their set, you have successfully defended.
I have a feeling he's good at
the attackers
deception.
have the other advantage though, which is that if you got not that putting upon you like if you got 4 8s, that's tough. But if you did get 4 8s, that means that there's no question because the width trumps. So it's one of those interesting character math stuff. I should probably double check if there are any esoteric. There is one for empathy. I should double check how it works, but I need to also double check if there's one about lie. If there's any kind of like weird lie stuff. Anyway, yes, there's no further insight into this conversation. Away with you.
Away with me, yes.
Well,
Yes.
probably while that conversation was happening,
Fair enough.
Nicola is going to have a conversation. And I'm trying to have that conversation with one Agave Cheval.
Yeah. She did step away from the prince. Again, do you
I
have
gotta
an
warm up
opener
my
to this
voice.
conversation, or
What?
no? Sorry, no. Repeat what you're saying.
I just gotta warm up my accent.
Okay.
His
This
voice.
would we be in a private area?
It's a boat.
Well, as private as you can get on a boat.
Yes, there's no other party traveling on the boat, and she does, as I said, step away from the whatchamacallit.
And I'm going to make sure to do this while Alias is distracted with
Inos.
Inos. And why I'm doing that will make sense in a second.
Sure.
I
She steps away
freely admit I may get thrown off the boat, so y'all might have to help me.
I can't swim. Fuck you.
Well, luckily,
I'm-
if you're trying to do this in private, you're probably not doing it on the deck.
No. She would really kill me if I tried to do that.
Anyway, I will be right back myself.
Why do you think I want to be so violent to you?
Now, Lady Cheval, I had a question for you, and I think it's fair to say you've known me for a while, and I need you to understand this comes from a place of genuine concern and empathy, so I would ask that you please not stab me.
This definitely gets her to kind of stop and tilt her head a little. Oh.
So it's... You know my friendship with Alias and my acquaintanceship friendship with yourself. And I can't think of any way. I'm not like my cousin. I do not have shiny words of elegance and deceit. So I just have to ask you bluntly. Is it your intention to court Alias?
She kind of coughs, scoffs, and, puts an arm against the side. She has to, take a couple deep breaths. Actually, no, this is another perfect time. Roll empathy.
I think you can. I think you could cheese your mission into this. I don't
No.
know.
No.
No, I'm trying to help her too. No. Look, if Lucky wasn't going to bite on this plot thread, someone was going to.
I had an impression, but I
think
never
he
saw
was
any confirmation.
thinking about it, but he was distracted by other things.
8.
Okay, 8s. Good. You make an empathy roll. As funny as it would be to have you to jinx this, I may save that for later.
Oh,
For later rolls.
Like swim roll. Got it.
So yeah, empathy wise,
Yeah, that's capitalist then.
Yeah. So at first you may be a little concerned. You're like, oh, is she coughing? Is she sputtering? The actual with 8s is after a couple of seconds of studying, Agave Cheval is trying really hard to stifle laughter.
I fucking do it.
So after a couple of seconds, she manages to get herself under control and just kind of like, sweeps her hair back and says, I apologize. Nika? No one has ever quite phrased it that way before.
I have been told that when it comes to my matters of the heart, I tend to have, how did the Lord Admiral describe it? The bluntness of a sledgehammer.
The Baroness would say that. Well, it's no lance tip. First of all, you are correct. That is an incredibly rude question, and if you asked anyone else that question, that would probably be summary accounts for a duel. Also, honestly, if you asked me that in public, I would probably have to fight you out of sorts anyway. But she kind of pauses, and she does get a little bit of a smile on her face. She kind of folds her arms and says, "But I think you're asking this question the wrong way around. Certainly, it would be the crown prince who has to court me. Wouldn't that be correct?"
This is true. But how do I say this nicely? Alias tends to
I would rather you didn't try.
Fair enough. I worry that Alias has too much on his plate, so I'm wondering if he's made any moves on you. Or if he intends to.
I'm gonna find this hilarious.
She clutches
too.
the wall. She is clearly, once again, fighting the laughter, trying to stay like.
I feel as if I'm digging a bigger
every
hole
bit
for myself.
of willpower this lady has been classically trained in to hold it together, because that would probably be worse if she just breaks out into laughter.
What would you roll to keep it together?
I don't even know. I think, like I said, I think it's a role-playing decision. She's just holding it together. Probably graces to just poker face. I'm polite. I'm
Nico's
normal.
lack of social observation wins again.
You've empathy now, but it doesn't change your previous assumptions.
So,
No. Having the ability to read people doesn't change my personality.
correct. So once again, she kind of like, just kind of through clenched teeth again, try to fight laughter. Make on me. She kind of like looks up at you and like takes a genuine second to like reconsider everything about Nicola Gridarvol in this moment and says, "Nika, if you'll allow me a blunt response, how are you not dead?"
It's a very good question. My family.
I would love to pop in here, just
constantly.
I'm sorry, I'm not, but I would love for this moment just to Inos, just to pop in and say, because we don't leave him alone with people, fuck, and just drag him away.
No, sadly, you would probably need some kind of magical spell or esoteric discipline to
I more feel
him
like
off the stage.
Honestly, that'd be more of a thing that Konrad and Logesh would have to do, because they're not in the middle of a conversation with someone right now.
I know.
I'm
It's
sorry.
still one of those things.
Logesh is busy guarding someone. I wonder who that person could be.
I mean, you could guard your boss's reputation by making sure that Nicola doesn't embarrass the clan.
I feel like Nicola won't expose state secrets, but he'll expose some kind of bad information that will cause a rumor.
Anyway, no. She says, especially given her comments, I am frankly quite shocked that the the Baroness Marin has not shot you dead on the spot and sent the Weregild to House Logi.
She did threaten to throw me in the ocean.
Well, that is still an option today. All that aside,
Oh, I need a moment.
she kind of like, again, centers herself, pauses, and says, as one of the few people who is crazy enough to be openly friendly with the Crown Prince, I will extend you some of that honesty. The Crown Prince and I have been friends for a very long time. We know each other very well. It would be improper of me to comment upon any of his own inner thoughts and discussions. But in the matter of courtship, I leave you with a very simple question. Or a very simple point. Alias is the Crown Prince, the future High King of this realm. If he were to show an interest in a woman, if there were to be any sort of formal engagement to be made, that would put her in the position of being princess consort and future queen. Now, Nicola, does that sound like the kind of pain in the arse that either I or the Crown Prince would want?
You make a excellent point.
I have
Yes,
expected
I do.
Nicola to go, mistress then.
No, Nicola
If
is
he
not
did that, she
dumb.
would probably have to stab him.
No,
I don't think he's that bad.
no, I have limits. Nicola is awkward, not just blatantly rude for no reason.
You're also not delusional. Most
Yeah.
of the time. I had to
His
put
delusions
pressure.
are his own.
Those are different.
Now, while I'm sure Alias appreciates your concern in his own way, you really ought to worry more about yourself. She kind of, again, gestures to, like, your whole thing, your whole thingus.
No thingus.
You just pointed to all of me. Exactly.
You've got a lot to watch, you've got a lot to look out for.
No, that is a fair point. I realize I will apologize if I have offended you in any way, but I haven't quite got a hang of the whole social status romance thing. So I feel like I'm wandering around blind.
It is quite bothersome, yes. I actually think when you say I apologize if I offend you, first she does just complete deadpan riff. Oh no, I'm afraid I'm going to have to kill you now. And then just moves on to just understandable. First of all, no, Nicola, not understandable. You've got to stand up for yourself. She kind of clasps you on the shoulder. There are plenty of people out there who will stab you as soon as look at you. Especially again with your whole, gestures to yourself.
Fair point taken.
Don't
get me wrong.
You're not exactly small and shy, but you have this air about you of a slightly overbalanced scholar. I'm sure someone might try and roll you down some stairs just to see what falls out of your pockets. Unless that already happened at the chemical college.
Oh, that's
Yes, once. And then grenades fell out of his pockets, everything exploded, and no one ever tried it again.
Nicola will deadpan at this point. I'm afraid at the alchemical college, it is an offense punishable by jail time to throw someone down the stairs.
I would hope so.
It usually results in murder.
Yes, the aura would phrase it that way.
Well, when things that fall downstairs usually explode, it happens to be that way.
Or your very fancy, expensive thing breaks.
No, I was more just thinking, if you're carrying dangerous chemicals, you're just gonna die.
No, it is true. Yes, as Lucky out of character joked, oh well, the grenades fell out of his pocket. No, that would be bad. You would not want to cause an accidental detonation of fulminating jars or
It's how solvent gets
Yeah.
someone's head.
flasks.
I think I got most of what I was asking out of the conversation, so I'm just gonna try and
Bow out.
just
gracefully.
engage in witty banter, and Dallas is currently too mentally tired for that.
Yes, no.
To just grow my relationship from acquaintance to friendly acquaintance with Agave.
I mean, honestly, I think you were already friendly may have been pushing it, but you definitely were already at the friendly banter part anyway. But yes, no, I think without even
starts
needing
at
to roll
enemy
anything
rank
else,
with
you
anyone.
need to improve your rapport a little. You can have a little bit of back and forth. And I will say, we'll let your empathy ride a little bit. Agave Cheval is very serious when she does phrase her question as you need to look after yourself better. She does kind of caution you to be more careful about how you speak to people, but also you feel like there's some questioning in there of also in addition to that, you should probably work on your bearing and demeanor a little so people feel less inclined to punch you.
No, that's fair. I'm working on the self-protection, though. I recently figured out how to bicycle kick people.
But yes, I think that conversation probably peters out a little.
Yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to get on. Is just I had that funny idea, and even though I wasn't expecting to get any information, which I kind of didn't, I just wanted to I don't know. I just want to be closer with Agave Cheval because she's obviously, romantic or no, important to High Prince Alias.
Crown Prince.
Oh, sorry, Crown. There's so many different terms for successor to the throne in different cultures that they're all in my brain in a giant soup.
Yes. All right.
I think technically he would be High Prince because the king isn't dead yet.
That may technically be true, yes. In this case, the way we're doing it is we're, shorthanding, first prince, basically, whatever, or, heir to the crown kind of a thing as crown prince.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm done, and I'm going to be stepping away.
Any further boat scenes?
As
I double check in, and we're almost 2 hours.
Should I have
Nope, no boat scenes.
Just off to the side.
Forgive me. Is the plan is the entourage staying in Four Leaves for a while, or are they moving on immediately?
The full party, the princess side and all that will be staying only the day, so they will probably spend the night in Four Leaves, and then depart the next day. You guys, obviously, like I said, are technically free to stay in Four Leaves as long as you like, but your boat will be waiting for you there.
All right, then, nay. I will not.
All right.
I need to... Ugh.
Oh, well, I did.
There was some boat scenes. Other boat scenes I wanted to do.
Then, real quick, I will finish my thought. The response to Loth in text saying, I didn't phrase it that way explicitly, but in my notes, saying that the foredeck is uncovered is actually say, if people wanted to engage in sparring.
That sounds good.
All right, so I did do that one. Is there a check?
Konrad and Logesh are fully healed up. What's the first thing they do?
Well, they know they're not going to do anything but shock themselves.
Oh yeah, it's sparring. It's not
practice blades.
Beat me up, brother.
All right, but Inos is gonna go grab the book of a spot of blades and go find Leslok and Konrad.
Probably pretty easy. You probably guys congregate towards the front.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I can do a 2-for-1 thing here.
Just follow the sound of the blades clashing.
Clank, clonk,
Ching,
bonk.
ching, ching, ching.
Bump.
Inos was Konrad, if you can stop trying to beat up other people, I could use you over here.
All right. 1 second. Disengage from Logesh. All right.
Oh yeah.
Pause there for a second.
Double back kick.
It's like,
Yeah, then Konrad will come over.
it's like, do you happen to have silver tongue on you?
It's in my trunk, but yeah. You want me to go get it?
Please, please. It's been a while since It's been a while since you covered, and I do believe I was going to take this opportunity to look over both Flambert and Silvertongue. Also, and he's like, he holds up a book, and maybe figure around maybe the secrets, maybe some of their origins.
Interesting title. One second, I'll be right back.
Some background character will also probably hand Konrad and Logesh some water skins at this point, since they've been working. Not that weird. You are literally entitled as a High Lord to carry a weapon at all times.
Yeah, it's part of his image. If he just carries it on him, I don't know.
I'm like, did you hear that, cuz? This is Inos speaking to.
I was saying that was the Leslok.
Yeah.
I know. I just, as you said that, I was like standing up, and I was like, I'm out of breath for some reason.
It happens, man. I can't tell you how weirdly sleepy I get sitting in this chair for just.
No,
20
I get excited, so I have to fucking stand up and walk
I know
around.
that feeling.
Yeah, I know the feeling too.
I do it too often.
My legs a little.
Oh, actually, I don't believe Leslok replied to Inos at all.
No, you're right.
No, I feel like I feel like whenever I'm sleepy whenever I step up from my chair for some reason.
It's probably a
Blood moving
thing.
around, I guess, but no, I'm not gonna say it. I guess that's like we'll stand up, and it's like I only heard parts of it, but enough to gather.
Yes. Well, there are many secrets about the Flambert that we don't know, and I figure a good place to start is to figure out what kind of blade it was, how it's made, where such blades were popular, and perhaps even who made such types of blades. Like, the second prince was very kind in recommending this text, and it is quite informative. So if we would take some time to maybe disassemble Flambert and well, actually, I don't know if we can disassemble the Flambert, but do a good. Like,
The best person on hand that could handle it would be you and Konrad together.
Yeah,
yes,
you probably can.
yes, is to inspect the blade, see if we can find any identifying marks, any parts of the construction, and compare it to the text we have. That might give us an idea of where to look for more information on things.
Wouldn't some of them also be masterworks under your own people's records?
Well,
I believe they only call the masterworks if they made them.
Yes.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, only if we make them are they called masterworks.
I thought the flame thing was a gift from them, or but the silver tongue.
Silver tongue, yes.
Silvertongue, but it's not a masterwork.
Actually, no, it is.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Oh, it
The
is?
blade part, not the handle.
Yeah, it's
I
a
think.
masterwork.
Oh, okay.
It is.
It was custom made for the White Wolf Agula Flogi.
Oh, okay.
Anybody else getting it does get the +1.
Oh, okay.
You get the +2.
Oh, then I've
Just
been
the blade part, but
I've been operating on wrong information then.
I think the Flimpert's different though, because that one's like before Iron Demon
Was it-
involved with both man.
Then wait, where did the big dragon bone sword come from?
Feuerkraul?
Would be
That was a gift
artifacts.
from the High King.
Ah, okay.
That's,
that
yeah,
was
the dragon.
from the first High King, right?
Well, we can still have this conversation about Flambert.
Well, yeah, but this conversation is about Flambert, but also Silvertongue
Yeah,
hasn't been seeing any action, and
It's
true.
with a masterwork. Yeah.
Silvertongue hasn't been seeing any action, and Inos
It
is slightly concerned for the weapon.
Well, Konrad will come back with a cloth wrap bundle,
Mhm.
and he sets it down and very carefully unwraps it.
Brief question: where are we having this conversation?
I was gonna have it on the
Front
deck. Unless you want to like, I don't know. It's a flat bottom. Like
I don't
Yeah,
want
it's a-
people.
it's a flat
I guess the bid is depending if it's. I want a lot of people to know I have. Actually, I guess they would have Flambert, but it's a conversation to have.
I mean, I think anyone
I mean,
with
most
some
people are not going to be good enough students of swords and mythology to understand that you have an ancient relic on you, if that's what you're
Okay.
concerned about.
Let's
Because
stop.
the most known thing about Flambert, well, the two most known things about Flambert, the legendary sword of Logi Torchbearer, is one, it would leap into flame when he drew it, which it currently does not do for
happening.
you, and two is that it was buried with him in his tomb. So,
That's true.
which is Logi's Labyrinth is a known thing people heard of. I don't think people would assume that you were able to just, walk on in. So you did have to find some funny booby traps and fight some silver knights. Anyway, you guys, if Leslok wants a little more privacy, you can kind of like not quite cordon off, obviously, but you can have some of your entourage kind of buffer out with the covered deck, or you could go. There is a second level that's awninged over. You could go up one.
Yeah, let's go up one and post a couple of the lamplighters to be deterrents, I guess.
Yeah.
It won't stop, like the second prince or the crown prince, and probably not a Gavi Cheval or Narissa Petaroy, but everyone else.
It's to stop eavesdroppers.
Yeah.
So yes, you have at least two swords.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Conrad's going to draw out the silver tongue.
Yeah, it is clearly been tended to, but it still does not, I believe, have a sheath. So
yes, it did. It was in a display case without a scabbard. So
I think that was buried with Leah for.
So to briefly compare the two blades are quite different in style. To describe the Flambert physically, it is a long sword. It is technically a hand and a half type sword, so you can one or two hand it.
Mm-hmm.
It has a distinct flame patterned blade, so it's got the flame tongue type curvy blade edges.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
The hilt is kind of broad and strong. A pronounced crossguard, we should say, that is detailed with animal antlers and jaspers, the stone in the hilt, red jasper.
Mm.
And has a kind of simple grip and pommel. No like additional gemstones set into it, though it is detailed with silver.
Okay.
The silver tongue, on the other hand, is it is a rapier style, so it is rapier damage. The blade is a little broader than normal for a rapier, but quite long, lots of reach. As mentioned before, the Flambert does not show like a lot of extra particular wear and tear. Both of these weapons are awakened. But the silver tongue in particular is like how do I say, like very clean, almost mirror polished blade, because it is a living metal soul weapon as well. It has a partial basket hilt made of kind of like almost like freely coiling, tightly woven silver. And there is a gemstone in the pommel of silver tongue, which is a bloodstone. And like I said, the hilt silver could use a little polishing still. Actually, probably not. Conrad's probably polished any flaws out of the silver, but the leather wrap of the handle, which is
yeah, the blade definitely seemed to almost vibrate when I was cleaning it.
Yeah. All right. So, do you want to read in your book first or examine the blades first?
Let's examine the blades first.
All right. No roll required between Inos and Konrad. You can, find the appropriate joints and take out the pins to do the disassembly.
I'm gonna go memorize the book very quickly.
You can just flip through the book, sure.
I'll have to roll for
Yeah,
that,
the again, despite the fact that you guys are reasonably certain this sword is 1,000 years old, the flambert comes apart pretty easily. Not a lot of problem in it, and you take it all out, and you have your hilt pieces and blades. I assume, Inos, you're looking for a maker's mark.
Yes.
Well, it's it's a little crude compared to what you've seen, but the mark on the interior of the blade, that is normally hidden by the hilt, is a little tiny etching of a little tiny sword with a little tiny fire,
And
which
a
our
little
crew will
tiny
recognize
neck.
as the house sigil of House Logi.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where, because it was an Iron Demon made weapon, but for Silver Tongue, I'm not sure exactly where the Maker's Mark would be tucked, but there would be a signature from a Iron Demon smith.
Okay.
Probably
From
in
the
their
circle of
language too.
Greed.
Probably in deep speech.
Yeah, just a little deep speak scribble. I also, genuinely, since it is a living metal soul weapon now, I don't know how much disassembly you can do on the Silver Tongue, as it is,
I mean, did you say the handles
like,
been replaced a few
alive.
times?
Yeah, that's like the exterior point, is the handle needs to be rewrapped. But like I said, I don't know how well you can actually take it apart to get at the blade, because again, blade is living metal now, so it does not quite shapeshift, but it is more flexible than normal, stronger than normal, cleaner than normal.
I guess you could read the soul on it.
I think he has done that. But yeah,
I do have that, but it's
any other further questions about the swords?
Not particularly. No, we see got that. So let's compare to the book.
All right,
Research.
so you have a roughly contemporary, probably as mentioned before, 150-year-old text, a treatise on blades, written by a scholar in the employ of House Espada. Obviously, if you guys think it's important, I can generate a name for this author, but
Nah.
we
Not
don't
right now, unless it's
feel a
like
strong need
it
to.
becomes
So like I
that
said, it's not
dire.
going to be a big deal. All of you can tell from the tone, and perhaps I don't know, either Leslok or Inos can read parts out loud. The author does have a slightly, flowery, romantic way of speaking about it. The book does begin with kind of a it's supposed to be kind of a history and typology of swords. So it starts with a recounting of and everyone knows all the legendary weapons of the 13 great heroes, but just in case, let me list them for you. Sort of a thing. So we'll start at the top, probably with first mentioned, of course, are the swords of High King Gwyn, because everything about him is cool.
Yeah.
One of his relic weapons, and one of the house relic weapons, is something you guys have actually already seen. Known now as Basil Pax, the Sword of Peace, is a dragonbone longsword that has the tip sheared off. You know this because it is part of the House Regalia and is used in a lot of important ceremonies. So when Leslok was granted the title of Marquess, this was the sword what the High King did that with.
Okay.
So you have physically been in the room with this blade.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Could you say tipless blade? I don't know why, but do we have a thing where executioner blades are tipless greatswords?
They would actually be, when they were used, would be the non-pointed, more squared type.
Okay.
Those are usually heavier, two-handed, though. And that will actually come up later. Put a pin in that one. But the Basil Pax was not intentionally made with no tip. It was supposed to be just a sword made of dragon bone that Gwyn had. So the story goes, which is recounted both in this book, but would be fairly well known to anybody who's actually read through the Septascript anytime. To spin a little bit of your ancient history. So before he was High King, Gwyn was just an important leader among the Dragon Slayers tribe. Veritas the astrologer saw the signs in the stars, went and got him, brought him to Mount Tron, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
On the mountaintop, the god Hydrus appears before him and basically explains, hey, here's what's up. here's the history of the world, I guess, and also there's some guys invading you.
Quarks.
Yeah, I was about to say quarks and stuff.
Books and stuff.
Calamities and stuff.
You can make a religion out of this.
They did.
Because like the context is that most of the ancient books of the Septuscript are supposed to be literally Veritas was there with like parchment rolls and paper and just wrote down their whole conversation. But at the start of that meeting, Wynn was a little surprised, when a god appeared, so he drew his blade, and Hydrus batted it aside, shearing the tip off. So it is now considered, the sword of peace. It is a important part of the king's regalia, but it is not actually a, war blade. To replace the damaged Basil Pax, the High King was granted the blade Soulless Sharp. In the text, Soulless Sharp is described as a golden blade. According to myth, Hydrus made the sword out of sunlight itself.
Jesus.
He's
a big important god. So.
You kill some mantra for that shit.
It is supposed to be a large, mostly triangular great blade. The hilt has a stylized sun circle on it. According to legends, the sword, lightly glows and is warm at all times. When drawn, it, sheds sunlight, which can blind your enemies and send them reeling, and could even allegedly, erupt in waves or streams of golden fire, which would harm unnatural enemies. The author posits this by saying that this is, the stories say this because the Soulless Sharp is a sacred relic that almost never leaves the royal vaults these days. The only people who are allowed to see it in person are members of the royal family, the Lord Magister, and certain members of the royal armorers who tend to the blade. So that is a supreme high juju relic.
I guess the next time a great colossal. Never mind. Yeah.
Also, not directly related to blades, but there is a Penslick mention that High King Wynn was supposed to pair this with a great shield of dragon bone known as Defensor.
Defensor.
Also, yes, by the way, this does mean that Wynn was apparently enough of a baller to one-hand a great shield and a great sword.
I mean, if you have six bodies,
he's on that blood brother with God juice.
He's got that 6 body.
Oh man, my path to become cooler than High King Wynn is gonna be a long one.
I don't think you can, because people have I think extrapolated his myths for centuries.
Well, the thing is though that he's got to be cooler than actual High King, not fake High King Wynn. Yeah. But it's still, I'm saying it's a at least somewhat attested fact that he was one-handing great swords.
You got to be cooler than him in a different way.
Can I dual wield chains? 2 chains.
You can try. Get yourself
it feels like we're literally just staring at a Dark Souls character.
attach. I have actually been playing a little DMC3. So the first demon arm you get is the Cerberus. So get a ring, attach 3 chains to that, triple wield chains.
Let's go.
Be a cool dude. So kind of going through like the historical order. The next story is about. It is a little shorter because it is not a sword, obviously, but the relic of Calabash the Horse Lord and the sacred relic of House Cheval is known as Ultima Hasta, the last spear. Yes.
Oh, cool.
It was a huge, great spear. And so, according to legend, Calabash was already traveling with Wynn when he went to Trone. He was also surprised, and according to the myth, he struck the god Hydrus in the side with the spear blade. And upon realizing what he had done, tried to throw it off the mountain. But Hydrus retrieved the weapon and gave it back to him and said it would be the last spear he would ever need. Therefore, the Ultima Hasta, the last spear. Again, this is another one that, like, House Cheval doesn't really parade this around. But while there apparently have been some repairs and refurbishments made to the haft, the blade of the spear is permanently stained red and is allegedly sharp to this day without ever needing to see steel or whetstone.
Makes me think of Gungnir or the Volg, as it probably should.
Yeah, it is. There is no exact description of any mythical powers it has, but with confidence, Calabash wielded it until the day he died, and it was certainly supposed to be a sharp and deadly spear. You guys, again, feel free to interpret what the properties of the spear that stuck God in the side while he wasn't looking can have.
I mean, the blood's very magical.
Very true.
He's the god of blood, after all.
It's true. As kind of an aside, also, they specify Veritas the Astrologer was not known for prowess on the battlefield, while she is considered the inventor of the Verit. She did not really engage in close combat. For some ceremonial purpose, according to tales, she owned a staff of white wood and silver studded with gems that had a piece of a fallen star in it.
Ooh.
If she did anything magical with that or hit people with it, this book about swords does not really elaborate.
That's just an ancient Carrion thing.
Well, it also may be a piece of Thunderbolt iron.
Oh, damn.
There is a mention that her personal honor guard, the 13 Chalice Knights, were armed with each with a longsword made of an alloy of iron and silver, and they were distributed in order to defeat ghosts and devils. So 13 holy blades. And the system does not elaborate further.
I should think of certain weapons where it's like a steel core with a silver coating, so that it would.
Yeah, you're not exactly sure in the book what is meant by a mixture, but it was iron and silver together.
I just think of Witcher weapons, which are steel blades usually coated in silver.
Mal Hammerhand, formerly the founder of House Malleus, was known for his great hammer known as Torre Marte. So it's described as a great hammer, but the actual textual description and like there's a little, colorful illustration in here, which is like, so it's a two-handed hammer, the head of which is a just slab of iron that was discovered all in one chunk in the Medius Mountains. The wing people etched sigils into it because they called Hammerhand the Great Thunderer because he used the hammer to apparently 1v1 a kraken. So he needed something heavy and crushing. He did not actually use the hammer very much in battle. According to legends, he was armed, his preferred weapon, hence why he was Hammerhand, was Kestis, or iron gauntlets. He obtained them from by killing, quote-unquote, an evil giant. They are covered in runes that gave him the strength of 10 men.
I bet he used that Thunder Fist school.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To be direct, I don't think that none of that sounds mythical. That sounds like doable.
I mean, yeah, no, that's probably the hammer is probably just a maul or a warhammer with a massive modifier, and then he just had artifact gauntlets that had runes in them.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the giant
Which is pretty
part.
normal.
Like,
The mythic part is
one-v-one-ing
the
a
fact that this
kraken-
guy was ballsy enough to fight a kraken.
The 1v1ing a kraken does not seem realistic.
okay, not that part, but I bet the evil giant part where it's like, in my mind, I was like, Leslok was like, wait, there's non-evil giants? Wait, no. Retract that.
I'm about to say, man, that's
retract
racist.
that. Wait, no. Retract that.
Yeah.
Because I'm forgetting. I was thinking about the frost giants, not the actual giant, the other giants.
Yeah,
but
the
no.
mountain
Never mind.
king.
I'm sorry.
Super
If you,
racist.
to be fair, to be polite to them, you don't normally call them giants, even though they are huge.
Yeah.
Beatrix
told-
Venin, founder of House Venin, was a witch lord and a summoner. Her most powerful tool was supposedly her book of names, a handwritten grimoire with 10,000 names inside of them.
Wow,
But she took that to her grave, so...
not for you.
Probably somewhere in their
personal
lands.
combat, she had two long fighting daggers, commonly called the Nagakris, the Twin Fangs. Their actual name isn't ever known, because she had them made and named them herself so that she could use them with Summoncraft. So they were bound blades They were balanced for throwing, so she could throw them and always have them magically return to her. And the blades would seek the other. However, according to legend, she used them to kill a 7-headed serpent monstrum, and so the blades were permanently poisoned, and the slightest cut with them would be fatal. Their exact whereabouts is not known, but it is said in the book that they were, after the War of the 13, they were supposed to have been recovered and placed in vaults.
Always snakes.
I mean, it's the python is the iconic monstrum of House Fen in this territory of the Marquesses. Gonna fight some giant snakes. It's them.
Snakes.
Continuing to move through milieu. They have another brief aside about Forrestal Half-Elven. Again, you can tell the person writing this, or at least his prospective audience. Oops. I still don't know how it is that when Lucky cuts his mic, he has a slightly smaller microphone.
I don't know how.
Computer mic. Also, 8 minutes till daily reset, everyone.
Oh, okay. Well, keep going.
I got it.
Okay, wait. I had a question about the event because it's fucked up, right? Like something is is mine broken? Like,
What do you mean?
What?
it's a non-linear story, right?
No.
So there was, because I don't know why Joanna is here.
Because she was summoned.
Because the stories assume you summon every character you can.
Okay, no, so she's just okay.
Yeah, that was in the intro that she recently appeared in Aldea.
And then it wasn't a time loop.
No, she did not actually go back in time. The Grail is cheating.
Or no, I mean you aren't. Never mind. Okay, I just must have missed something.
I definitely missed something here.
Because location and trauma.
No, it's all in there. Just give it a reread. Anyway, I was saying that the text talks about to round out the milieu crew. Talks about Forrestal Half-Elven. You can tell that either the person writing this book or the people it's being written for are obviously much more interested in swords than any other weapon. So there's a little bit of sarcasm when they describe his legendary bow. First of all, Forrestal Half-Elven had a highest quality bow that was recurve styled. It was a composite bow. That is now obviously the modern standard for bows, other than if you're going for the traditional big-ass long bow, but would have been quote-unquote cutting edge at the time. And it was allegedly melded together from white wood, unicorn horn, and green crystals. And the bowstring was strung with a hair from the Fairy Queen.
Whoa.
Who, to specify Forrestal Half-Elven, the Fairy Queen is supposed to be his, paternal, sorry, I had to check my notes, grandmother.
Oh.
So he was descended from her. Through an elf prince and a human woman. He got to be real cool. He probably...
Konrad would probably bring up the question at this point. It's like, are they talking about the same Elven Queen?
Yes.
Yes.
It's
the Fairy Queen. The Fairy Queen has been
very
around for
old.
1,000 years at least.
Very pretty.
The Fae are
Promise.
very
We're not making. Don't kill us.
Disconcerting.
Let's not mention
Let's not say things by name.
So yes, the when you say let's not think about that anymore. We read to the Lex 9. The bow was known as the Heartseeker. Allegedly, it never missed, but this could have just been how good Forrestal Half-Elven was at shooting. There is an anecdote that he carried 2 quivers for 2 types of arrows. Against men, he would use bronze-forged elf shot, but for fairies, he would use cold iron arrowheads.
He wasn't afraid to fight them fair folk.
Yeah. There is at least a brief account that, according to legends and ballads, Forrestal did own a long, thin blade made of metagrease, which he jokingly referred to as his sewing needle. Probably a very early rapier type weapon, but not exactly the pattern. The text kind of peters out on that one, so you don't know if just the author didn't find that interesting or just didn't know anymore. Some of these weapons are like provably real, but others could be exaggerations.
The other option is the Fae erases memory.
Yeah, I think they run through all of Milieu because obviously that's where you'd start. You'd start with Wynn, and then it just becomes natural to run through some of his early companions. When they start talking about Norlon relics, you may be pleased to find that they discuss House Logi first.
Yay.
So Logi's
Yay.
blade, the Flambert, is described. It basically describes the thing that you have. It is a long sword. It was said to have a waving blade-like flame. This technique is known as flame tongue or flamberge. The text describes this, and this is something I think I did mention that Konrad would already know. It describes this as a technique that in modern times is applied to two-handers, to greatswords. The idea is basically when you give a sword that kind of wavy, flame-like quality, basically instead of having one edge, you're giving it a shitload of edges.
Oh.
Yeah.
So this means that you can exercise greater surface area, both for slashing and also for parrying.
Oh yeah, way more edge alignments to do.
Yeah, you have more points of contact. And like I said, this is modernly applied to some two-handers. It is a difficult technique and thus is more rare. And the author does say that historically this was applied to one-handed swords like the Flambert first, and it is believed that Logi Torchbearer developed this technique, but does not know exactly, when it was around. It does describe that, according to legend, the blade would leap into flame when he drew it. And the author probably editorializes a little that this is believed to have been some hitherto unknown application of soulcraft. I won't make you roll Inos. Obviously, you know that Flambert is awakened. It is a awakened weapon.
Mm-hmm.
While you do know that it is possible to effectively level up awakenings, it would be a truly unique or lost art to have something basically have its soul be a flame. Like, you understand, I don't think you know the spell Soul of Fire, but you understand the concept behind it, I'm sure. That
Soul of Fire enhances existing flame. It doesn't create flame out of nothing.
Yeah, you understand that, as much as people of the ancient times would have thought of fire as almost like a living thing, fire does not have a soul. It is a form of it is a kind of fundamental part of our universe.
Mm-hmm.
And the part of the person it is tied to is mind, not soul. So you're not sure how that would work. There probably is some obscure way to do it with soulcraft, but it is it would have to be the thing of old Logi's thinking in curves and the rest of us thinking in straight lines,
Unless the thing is he put it on fire and the blade itself just augmented the flame automatically to being intensely more than what it is. But
I mean, flaming oil is possible. That's not really practical in real life. But if you had something enhanced, you might do it that way. But if you examine the scabbard you have, you found it in situ.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really seem to have a hidden oil reserve. There's not oil residue in there. It seems to be some extra manifest, like I said, some proper artifact shenanigans that you're not exactly sure how to replicate. You can be reasonably sure that it was not cross-disciplinary, at least with runecraft. You have taken apart the hilt. There are no runes worked into the blade. Just the maker's mark. So
probably something to do with some technique probably known by the people in the South End of Celticy. At least that's what
there's some interesting application. To put you on the track is, if you were to try and research this further, you would probably need to either follow, as Leslok brought up, follow Logi's advice and go deep into the golden desert that is sacred to Fornaxia and try and figure that out, or try and run it down from the other end and research more about the clan or tribe Logi's senior wife was part of, so Golden Hair. They were known as the Fire Dancers. So that would probably be something because yeah, Leslok would probably be one of the worst. I'd have to double check my notes, but I'm pretty sure you saw in one of the murals.
We talked about like his family and his allies.
Well, yeah, you see the different tribes of Norlon. I believe in one, the first image of the flaming sword appeared when it was him and the figure who is presumably his wife, holding it together.
Yeah.
So that may have come from his understanding of her knowledge.
Huh.
Also, there is a decent amount of mention made about the Foidercrawl modern Crownish dialect, Firefang. It is a sawtooth greatsword that was given to Logi by High King Wyn, as kind of a reward for his, personal service. It is a two-handed blade that is basically described as being made of like two dragon jawbones, which again, you physically handled this item earlier. It was presence. Sounds about right. Basically that weapon is edged with two worked, dragon jaws so that the teeth all face out to make a sawtoothed blade, and it is a impressive and deadly weapon. It's also heavy as balls.
Alrighty.
So nothing inherently magical about its properties, just as a great sword made of dragon bone, it was a very impressive craft that was gifted to.
Dragon bone, I assume like harder than most stone.
Actually, I mentioned this before in passing, but to remind people, House Whitestone, their name Whitestone is a by name for dragon bone. So yes, it is like rock hard. Dragons have a lot of AR, guys. Scales bones, tough. Mechanically, to remind everybody, because I don't think you guys own any other Dragonbone weapon this time, Dragonbone can basically be any size, but gets the massive weapon quality where it does like +1 or 2 extra killing damage.
Heavy.
But requires body 4 to use. So yes,
I keep looking at Konrad every time I think
impressive
about
pair of
Dragonbone.
blades. To round out the description of Norlon, Ich Icehart owned an axe with a haft made of preserved mammoth ivory and a head made of a metal that was polished so pure that it shone like glass, but was always said to be ice cold to the touch. It was known as the Rimrox. This was paired with a shield of the same material, the Rime shield itself, which was said to magically repel all forms of fire. These two blades are said to be still in the possession of House Ich to this day.
Cool.
An interesting one, because this is done after the time of the War of the 13. As I mentioned before, they had Mal Hammerhand and Beatrix Duvenin here. Vilter Iron Tusk served as the king's executioner. He wielded a two-handed squared sword for this duty.
Huh.
It is said that his descendants carved the names of their ancestors, their kindred, into the blade in runes, effectively creating a record of their entire house in the blade. Thus, it was currently named, before it was presumed lost in the War of the 13, the Rememberer, or Husker.
Huh.
That's cool.
So, the sword itself is a memory of their house.
How long was the War of 13? Like 300?
About 500 years ago.
500, okay, damn.
Yes. That was about your halfway point. 200 or 300-ish years ago was called the Great Schism and the Reformation, where there could have been a third Great War, but we decided to reform the church and the government instead.
Probably for the best.
But to speed through our southern houses, because of course they're saving House of Spada for last. Marin Seastrider once owned what in the text is, I don't know what the like medieval manuscript or Renaissance manuscript equivalent of scare quotes is, but it is referred to somewhat sarcastically as a blade. It is known as the Klein Air, or White Hilt, or White Wind. According to Mar and Sea Strider, they won it from the Conch King, the head of the merfolk, in a dice game. The sword doesn't have a blade, but when drawn with pure intentions, it cuts as the wind itself.
Oh.
So it is effectively a sword made of wind. The text here says that there's not a lot of scholarship about it. The hilt is described as being, petrified, driftwood, etched in coral and mother of pearl, and obviously had no visible blade to speak of, but does kind of relate. I almost want to say like a joke or a fable. The sword is usually considered lost because apparently Mar and Sea Strider would loan it to anybody who asked for it. So it has tendency to
Appear and
leave the
disappear.
house for generations to just mysteriously show up when needed.
That's awesome.
I guess if they have to go fight like some great.
Well, I mean, it makes
Kraken.
sense. Like, why would you need to lock down a sword that can only do anything effective when someone is drawing it for pure intention?
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
a right proper magic sword. Oro the strategist, founder of House Oro, obviously, had a blade that is, not supremely magical, but still interesting in its design. It was a short sword based off the gladiuses of the Lost Empire. He named it Jusil, or Judgment. Had an elaborate hilt shaped like the scales that are the sigil of House Oro. But the really interesting thing is the manufacture, and this is probably one you're going to have to run by Nicola. So a gladius, a Roman-style short sword, is double-edged. The blade of Judgment that Oro the strategist wielded was somehow fused of two separate alchemical alloys. The front edge is orichalcum. The back edge is adamant.
So it wouldn't shatter, but it'd be sharp
So
in the blade.
Yeah, and the blade gleams in black and gold in equal measure. Again, slight snide commentary that House Oro is not known for their martial prowess, so they usually keep the blade deep within their vaults.
Good old propaganda Bart commenters.
Well, like I said, this was, again, without needing to make up a whole backstory and name for this character, this is clearly the case where the author of this text was a scholar sponsored by House Espada to write this. So, while it is very extensive, there's also some...
It's very biased.
Yeah. House Cavalier used a relic known as the Twin Blades, or the Sword of Twin Reeds. They were... single-edged curved blades made of something called water steel. The text describes it as something similar to the Norlon Damascene, though obviously not literally made with Damascene because that's made with demon fire, but had apparent similar visibility. Originally, because the founders of House Cavalier were twins, they each had one sword, but later heads of the house put them together to make a twin-bladed staff so they could fight from Hippogriff back. House Espada claims to have captured these blades in the War of the 13 and keeps them in their armor along with their own house's illustrious weapons. Speaking of House Espada's illustrious weapons, our exposition cycle comes to a close. With me expanding actually on an anecdote I believe I mentioned to you guys before, lore about it, or just remembered something off the cuff. I believe a member of House Espada made a comment about not asking for forgiveness. So the text here, the treatise you're reading, relays this story a little more in full. So House Espada was founded by Espasi's Stormborn. They were literally called, the tribe of or the clan of the sword. Her father was Adamos the Unbreakable, who was, as you may recall, clad head to toe in adamant armor. That's why he was unbreakable. And the Lost Empire solved this problem by crushing him to death by dumping a mountain on top of him.
Right.
Yes, I remember the story.
They got him in a pit trap and dumped stones and logs on him, sunk him beneath the earth. So the legend goes that when Adamos the Unbreakable, went into battle, his daughter Espathi prayed for mercy. This went unanswered. When he fell, she prayed for guidance, and her prayers went unanswered. She lastly prayed for there to be justice for this, though obviously, you could always interpret that as revenge. And it is said that a bolt of lightning crashed from the heavens into the ground, and she took this bolt of lightning and wrapped its handle in silk and used it as a sword and claimed that she would not pray for forgiveness. This is the Tornador, or the Thunderer. And again, if you believe this text literally, it is not really a sword, but presumably a relic from Tempestas, the goddess of justice and thunder, that is said to be sealed deep inside the adamant gate. You wield it like a sword, but it is a weapon that has no weight and allegedly cuts any substance it touches, including the otherwise impervious adamant. It is a sacred relic that is, not even held in House Espada's home vaults. It is held in the Adamant Gate, which is a temple, only ever to be used in most grievous of need. This does line up with another point about Logi's murals. If you will, well, you probably don't recall because it was a million years ago, but I did mention at the time one of those figures when he had little figures of all the 13 original heads of house. One of them was a woman holding a thunderbolt in her hand.
Yeah.
Considering I don't disbelieve it, I just think there's probably more details that are just not known.
So you have to kind of summarize this. Like I said, these are all very important items that are, as far as you guys know, all of these still exist somewhere. Though, if somebody took, say, for instance, House Vilter's Husker and threw it in the ocean, well, it's at the bottom of the ocean now, but all of these should
probably have it.
Exist. But they are all kind of varying, I want to say qualities. Some of them are outright holy relics that were made through, divine will, and therefore are probably not replicable. None of you, I think, would have the opinion that you could replicate the story of the Thunderer Blade.
No.
Right? Because that's a whole thing. Similarly, unless one of you guys somehow figures out a way to pop into the vaults of heaven without having to, die first, you're pretty sure you can't ask Hydrus for a new sword made of sunlight.
I mean,
and
we
some
can
of these,
ask.
as we said, are
We
basically
ask,
mundane. They're
we'll
just normal.
Not get an answer.
They're but the kind of middle ground of these swords is a decent number of them appear to have been made through the power of sorcery, either obvious forms such as Malhammerhand's, runic gauntlets, or sorceries you guys don't understand personally. Obviously, like I said, Beatrix Duvenin had named blades which she could, summon to her with her magic.
I basically think that's
Logi had
the
some kind of enchantment on his
prototype
blade.
version of the Calamitous Blade concept.
I mean, yeah, you did a little bit of research on blades. She definitely didn't intentionally do it that way, but it does kind of seem like her swords were changed by killing that. But they were still ensorcified. Any other questions about these various houses and blades and structures?
No, not really. That was very informative, but
That's cool.
doesn't really question. So yeah, no.
It gives us whatever direction to looking for Flambert. The rest is cool, but I don't think we'd ever directly see them unless we tried to find them just to see if they were real.
It could be a fun talking point at some point.
True. If we ever visit the Anime Gate, we ask can we ever see the Torador?
Probably not. No, they'll probably slap you. Well, no, they probably stab you.
Remember, the Adamant Gate is not an alchemical college or it's a religious. They're not the same as if you ask to see the Orichalcum House Order would probably be yeah, here, look, it's shiny.
And so
yeah, if you asked Baron Oro about Juicio, he would probably be oh, that old thing, sure. Where did I leave it?
Probably
right.
Check this shit out.
Pretty cool.
That was probably actually in some like nice display in a vault.
But yes, no. Just spend some time discussing the blades, talking about them. At this, Inos realized like, if I actually pull off this weapon that I want to make, this actually might be considered like a modern. I don't know if I would call it a relic, but
You had it in mind.
well,
I mean, it would be probably a future relic, you know.
yeah. Well,
The thing I think that the text would say, like, the reason why these are listed first and foremost is because all of these weapons have legends that go back to technically before even the founding of Troy Corone, right?
True.
So
Yes. But
they have been passed through the legends of these houses for forever, basically.
no, the gift for Noctiluca, like I'm calling it the Moonlight Saber for right now, is I'm gonna take Master Forge. I'm gonna learn the secrets of Damascene, make a blade from that, awaken it, put a diamond in it to enchant it with Gemstone Soul to give it the umbral aspect, so you'll take less damage from, monstrum attacks, and then give it Soul of Light so that when you will it, the blade, glows a bright light. Probably not enough to actually blind somebody, but,
It hurt something life sensitive though.
might, yeah. Specifically built something to combat the evil Batman of her country. But it's gonna be pretty effective. It's like
Sounds like it should be.
yeah, so it has a lot of steps, and it's gonna take literally a month of work to do it because it's a masterwork. But
Well, and that's just for the blade part too.
yeah. But then he has to find a gemstone of unusual side. I have to find a Wealth 5 diamond.
Ironically, it's the easiest place probably will be in the demon. Will be back in like the Iron Demon.
Yeah. But no, like I'm just thinking about. I've been listening to the descriptions and their effects. I'm just like it's not quite like the level of like a most of them, but it's still like,
Well, some of them have like literal divine blessings to them.
Well, yeah. But it's like it's in the realm of the runic gauntlets, the warhammer, the fucking
Yeah, like the second set.
yeah. It's not like a divine relic, but in a few generations down the line,
Because you don't make a relic weapon, it means you can still make a legendary weapon.
True. It probably would be legendary quality.
Yeah. Anyway, no, just thinking about that, but
Yeah.
And I do hope that, as is always my style, some of these contain, questions unanswered about what the fuck these things actually are.
Yeah, there's some like bits here or there. It's like,
I'm curious. It's like, what is a blade of wind? I'm like, that one's the one that like tickled my fancy the most.
something of
That
like.
one was just my favorite story.
Yeah.
Because it's
That
just
one, I like the twin blades the most because they were talking about the different type of metal.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But
It has something to do. So, brother, my good friend, I wanted this conversation as we went through all this to be more private because I had something in mind afterward. We don't have to dwell on it, but I just want to make a point between both of you that as things have gotten more complicated as time has passed, I only just want to make it open that whatever you all both plan to do and seek to do in the future, do try to let me know. There are a lot of things that I'd like to be privy to, and a lot of things I am privy to, not to people's understanding. And because of that, I'd like to be able to extend all the resources I have at my fingertips to yours, regardless of external circumstances.
Cuz you should not say such a thing. What if my plan was to take over the world? Become a demon king and put all the realms of men under my heel like cattle on a ranch.
What are we gonna do tonight, Pinky? Or Brain, rather.
You read that book also, Inos?
Yes, no, it was actually quite interesting. Arthur is absolutely mad, but it was entertaining.
The concept is. I feel just out of like sheer degree, I'd have to follow along just to see how you could do it.
Inos, kind of just holds his tongue right there. Just the point is, cause it's like, I appreciate your forwardness and your forthright and willing to help us. You probably shouldn't just offer your support blindly. You should first hear what we have to say and make a informed and reasonable decision about how much of your effort you can spend, along with your resources. Remember, your resources are the resources of your land. If you just start giving them out willy-nilly to whatever harebrained scheme that I or anyone else close to you may have, you'll find out that your coffers will run out quite quickly.
I hear Castle Skjoldberg is pretty run down.
Yes, let's just throw all of our money at that so Konrad can have a nice place. Well done.
You make a point. No, you make a point, but it's... but I still need to know the breadth of your ideas to understand which ones are worth investing in.
And that's point 2, cuz. Just because we have things going on doesn't necessarily mean we need to involve you in them. You are the God-blessed Marquis. You're already gonna have enough on your plates. Do you know how much paperwork you're gonna have waiting for you when you get back? Lady Yabel is going to throw a party when she doesn't have to deal with all the fucking organization and paperwork that she's been dealing with for the next few years. That's gonna be all on your plate from now on.
I spent years learning how to... never mind, that's not important.
Point is, you'll be stuck with more work than you know what to do with, and you'll have less free time than you think. Delegation gets you so far, but there's a lot of things you're going to have your own hands in. If we come to you telling you about every little hair scream that we have, you're going to have even more on your plate to think about, and frankly, you won't be able to handle it. So come.
Not to say I won't let you know about certain things. We've already had that talk.
Yes. Like I said, if we think that you need to know about something, we will let you know about something. But I don't want to overburden you, and I don't want you to think you have to get involved with every little thing in our lives. That's what's the term?
Creepy.
No, it's not creepy. I want to say micromanaging, but it's like I don't think we have that corporate speak here.
Trolling.
No. Yes, actually, that's probably good. That seems a little bit more controlling than you like, cuz. Actually, that reminds me. I actually have words for you from the Second Prince.
Oh.
Good folk?
But
he says that, and I'm paraphrasing, unfortunately, because I cannot remember exactly what he said. But he says, you're a good young lord, but you're not the best that you can be. You're going to be making plenty of mistakes, and a lot of what's going forward is going to how you deal with such things.
Yes.
Don't bite off more than you can chew, cuz.
I can't argue with your points. I just want to make sure that if there's ever a time when something ends up on my desk about something, new points of Konrad or Nicola or whatever happens, and I wasn't known about it. There's only so much I can do.
That is fair, cuz. And again, I appreciate your heart. I appreciate your heart in the matter.
You can only do so much about Nicola, also.
Is anyone watching Nicola, by the way? I have a feeling he's making an ass of himself, and there's no one there to stop him.
I saw him head off in that direction earlier.
Ever since the comment you made about Kefis, I'm worried that he assumes the weirdest perspectives on people.
I just want there to be a beat.
Some laughing in the distance.
Anyway, guys, don't worry, cuz if I need your input or help with something, I will let you know. But don't expect me to give you all my secrets. How else am I going to maintain this mysterious charm and allure?
No, that's fair. But I wouldn't mind you getting the other people's secrets.
Now, whatever makes you think that I can do that?
a list of things.
Like?
And this is where Leslok remembering everything,
Light
I can't.
focused.
Again, I've never told, like, well, actually, no, there is exactly one time that I have mentioned such things, but...
I mean, you have used your ability with Student of Espionage around, like, Leslok. Like, at the very least, he knows that you know a little bit about...
Code breaking.
Ciphers
Because it was
and
both of us that, like,
code breaking.
did that. Like, you just
correspondence,
figured out a
like-
code break,
Yeah.
and I had to, like, memorize a
Yeah,
language.
but also, you can also put that down to that Inos knows a fuck ton about languages.
Sure, we're both
I mean, that's
similar in that
still,
regard.
like, that can still be interpolated. With, like, that, like I said, you asked to look at the journals to study them. So, you know a little bit about ferreting out hidden information.
I know a few things about a few
Anything
things.
further than that he needs.
So,
That
again,
said, I mean, I
have a term
personally...
for this.
Yeah, sorry. Let me
Got it.
finish my thought. Axe may be struggling with a way to phrase this. I personally, as your omniscient third-person observer, would definitely say that publicly, Inos appears to be a bit of a
Literary.
gossip, a bit of a gadfly. Like, you are the kind of guy who inserts yourself into other people's drama.
yeah,
Like, I think there's a lot of ways that you can interpret what
okay,
Leslok just said about finding out other people's secrets.
yeah.
I found a
Like,
thing about it, actually.
Go for it.
I like to think that your romantic outlaw charm is a bit more than just a... I wouldn't say it's a front, but I would say it's a very tool you have finally honed for extensive purposes, and I don't think it's just because you like having the attention of everyone in the room look at you.
Why can't I just like having everyone in the room looking at me? And for the second thing, cuz, if I'm willing to gather and spill other people's secrets, who says I wouldn't do the same for yours?
Again, you make a good point.
It's like, the value of telling other people's secrets is that they are kept. Trust me on this, cuz. You only need to betray someone once to ruin them.
Yep.
There.
That's not Logesh. That's just me going, yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if
Maybe
you,
Logi
it's,
should say yep. I don't know. Sadly, I don't think I got any balls in this court. So
it's like, so if Inos is very serious. So if you want me to find out someone's secrets and tell you them, you better have a damn good reason for it.
Then we will save it for when I do.
His reason is he wants to know things.
No, actually,
Light whistling coming from Konrad.
brother, that also applies to you, but I assume there's less circumstance to that.
I'm not saying anything.
You hear nothing. Oh, look at this. This is a sword. This is a really cool
Like,
sword.
but yes, regardless, I'm happy to have both of you with me.
I'm happy to be here, cuz.
That reminds me, I should mention this. Because everything with the court, we will probably deal with the situation with Drakesboro when we do the tour.
Makes sense. But, actually, a second part from my conversation with the second prince. I know we're gonna stop by Trone for a little while, but would you like to make the pilgrimage while we're there?
Yeah. Do you know how long that will take? Actually,
you guys
let's
are
look probably
real
think about how long
here.
that would take. Actually, because he probably is.
Yeah, sure. Roll.
Which pilgrimage are we talking about?
The pilgrimage to the thrones.
To the top of Mount Tron.
Yes.
Mountain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Stone
that was Konrad asking.
Oh.
Because
I'll
there's
roll for that.
plenty of holy sites on Trion. So
I feel like Kepis has told him about this.
Technically,
Oh.
knowledge,
I would sing for Leslok.
geography, or cartography for like an exact measure, but you can roll lore.
I roll lore for like
Can
estimate.
I
mean,
roll religion?
It's on top of
Yes,
mountain.
you
I
can
don't know
probably
how many
roll.
of us are
Religion.
good at.
I will still try. Because Leslok was correct. He's like, wait, I should probably know something. Tennis.
Probably a lot of stairs. It's a lot of
It
stairs.
would, but the way that His Majesty the Second Prince... Wait, no, His Highness. Fucking hell. His Highness the Second Prince, it is a one-of-a-kind experience that cannot be experienced anywhere else. And unfortunately, I'm a sucker for those kind of things.
Yeah, you, because you are not a student of the Septascript strictly, Inos, you do not know exactly, because, like, you know that's, like, part of the parable is, the wind went to the top, and you met Hydrus, and blah, 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 and there's the chairs and stuff.
And Hydrus was like, "You're cool."
I'm sorry, I forget. I'm sorry. Complete fucking aside here, but I gotta get it out before I get. The Dragon Widow, was she like Hydrus's daughter or something, or just I forgot?
Matches.
You could interpret that way. She was one of the first brood of the first hatching of dragons. So yes, that the dragons are Hydrus's calamity. So.
And he was just gonna climb to the top of a mountain, point at this guy, and be like, "Hydrus, I'm stealing your daughter." I'll become cool.
Curse you,
Inos explodes in holy fire.
Yeah, just
No, that would prompt Konrad to grab him and start running down the mountain.
Running away from the Super Mario 3 angry son.
I feel like that's where like everyone else has to like fucking just go stage right to avoid it.
Just leave. But yeah, no. You're not exactly like you remember some metaphors of the discussion, but it's not out there. Leslok, you can recall with your generalized lore that there's a like poetic description of 1,000 steps. You're pretty sure that's not literal, but
I think I'm gonna remember from like years ago if Kefis ever did the pilgrimage
if you
himself.
take a step as like a pace, that's probably about a yard. So
yeah,
if that's a rough estimate, 1,000-yard climb up a mountain. So
it's
like
probably a well-maintained path.
Not impossible, you're not like making a mile long up, but
Probably a few
not
hours.
a casual jaunt.
It's probably like most of a day, I guess.
You will be going uphill, but then you get to go downhill.
Probably a whole day to be flexible with it.
Well, because we don't have to do it, but we all will be in the area.
I can definitely say without any need to roll, the two humans here would know what Mena said. Actually, several of you were in this conversation, but the two of you who rolled would know without needing to roll further. The thing Mena said is true, is going to Mount Trom would probably be a little bit like the pilgrimage to Mecca. It is something that I think most people who are adults would be expected to do at least once, would be to go all the way to the mountain and see, because it is
proof
like
of the gods.
Yeah, a very big, real, like, factor in your religion. There are many, minor pilgrimages that are closer that people might undergo, but it is said, everybody must visit the mountain, the flattened peak of the mountain, at least once in their life.
Honestly, it's an opportunity, and we probably won't go back to Tron for a long while. If there's nothing too urgent happening at the time, we could probably work something out very quickly, or not quickly, but in advance.
Very good, cuz. Anyway, I think I've held you up long enough. I am going to go... I don't know. I think I'll go pose dramatically on the bow and see if I can catch the eyes of any ladies.
See if you can do a flip off the top.
I'm not going to do a flip off the top.
I just need benders. Do a flip.
I mean,
I'm just joking about Enos's beauty. I'm just imagining, he doesn't catch any ladies, but some fish do jump out of the river to try and get him. Lunch.
Sorry, I'm just imagining everyone else has fishing poles and Enos just like sits by the run and just poses, and then so like
he takes off the veil.
It just takes off the veil and like just fit and asks everyone's what's his name. It's like fishing. What?
I took this pose for a painting, and I took this picture for like a statue making.
They keep saying there's plenty of fish in the sea, so I'm I'm trying.
There could be many puns, but no. Inos will exit this conversation unless anyone needs him for something else.
No, I made my point.
No,
It was well done, Axe.
Hitting Logesh with a stick.
I'm very proud of the point of being. Listen, if something happens on my front, if something gets to my front desk and I didn't know about it, I can only do so much.
It's true.
And it is true.
Yep.
That's the old adage about the buck stops here. Well, and then I would like to, because we're at about at 3-ish hours, I must pose to you all the classical question. Do you guys want me to send you into Four Leaves and describe all of its beauty and splendor now, or end it here on the boat trip and start fresh with exposition next time?
I don't have work tomorrow, so I'm fine going. I also need some people to write down in
better
Personae.
next week, just because we will have it more fresh in our minds, so we can play off of it.
I do usually believe that is better for us, given how we are sometimes.
Fair.
Because
I
I don't mind going longer, but if we're just doing the description, I'm going to forget it by next week, probably.
Well, we don't have. Well,
I have an out. Oh, good.
Well, here's a question: do you have any necessarily plans pre-established in Four Leaves?
Yeah, is Four Leaves the Ferretti border town?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Which is.
Well, he doesn't have to explain it, but it's I don't while the description will probably be good but I don't think it's necessarily going to change what you're going to do. It just might add a bullet point or two.
Oh no, okay, that's a point. Whatever you guys want to do.
I would like.
I will.
Just, if any characters come up or not, I just want to have it so I can make a note or not.
Yeah, because I think it'd be better to get the description and then be able to think about what we may want to do at it instead of have the description and then be all oh, what are we gonna do in him and Haw?
Well, believe it or not, all the any of the major characters you would get from the description of the place are already in the Dramatis because you've already seen them.
Yeah, fair.
But
Four Leaves is the domain of House Quatrefoil.
But I will defer. I played devil's advocate. People can do whichever. I am fine with either.
Honestly, I would like to have a description so I can at least think about plans, so I don't have to be in headlights for a bit.
Dallas, would you like to still push it off to next week?
No, if the majority wants to do that, then I'm not gonna oppose. I'm just.
Well, if Aren haven't said they're.
I'm not going to be able to be very active after a certain time.
Yeah, I don't think this will go too much longer, but it's one of those things of like I said, I want to posit the question: do you want the exposition now and then think on it, or next time and be fresh?
I'd prefer to be able to think on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think yeah. Let's be able to think on it.
Yeah.
How do you feel, just for the sake of it? Because you're part of the group.
I say think on it. Give us time.
Okay. So, you guys, go back to the lower deck, to the bow, looking around, and eventually your riverboat pulls into what is unmistakably a city. Four Leaves is very large. It is broken up into the classical quarters, which should be roughly, 1/4, but obviously that doesn't. City planning is very chaotic. Anybody who's played City Skylines knows.
No!
It's two.
This city is, like I said, very bustling. You would say the actual size of the city parts is probably similar in scope to the capital Lampclair.
Okay.
It is definitely bigger than Point de Lance and Highbower, obviously. The township itself might be larger than the town under Stonehearth. But notably, there's no, palace or castle keep here. There are town walls, classical town walls of stone, which demarcate the original boundaries. And because it is coastal, there are a couple of coastal forts, but there is not, like I said, a huge castle keep built here. The architecture's got a mix of a couple different styles. Obviously, a lot of heavy wood accents, but they do have stone walls. They do have, mortaring techniques with heavy bricks. There are some accents of, red ceramic of terracotta. A lot of walls, fences, and balconies are kind of artistically accented with living, growing vines. Lots of crawling ivy and the like. To leave, because they, are built around a major river, the city seems like it was often built up vertically to leave space for the roads in the river.
Okay.
So you see a couple of buildings where like they've clearly like added an extension on top, kind of a thing. Lots of family homes above shops, sort of thing. Wrought iron is used as a lot of accent, and you guys will spot as you're being oared in, punted in. A decent number of houses have a horseshoe hanging over the. If you want to interpolate that, anybody can roll lore.
Probably a faith thing, but I want to make sure.
I know what it is. But
And before you go all the way down to the seaport, the river itself has several bridges and locks. So you guys would leave at a riverport at the front end.
3 10s, damn.
Do you have an echo or 10s? Yes. Your first instinct was correct, Leslok. It is a ferry thing. Hanging a iron horseshoe with an iron nail over your door is basically the ferry equivalent of saying no solicitors.
I remember that because I know a thing of a bit of a kind of like witch tale where it's like someone just took a bunch of iron nails and shoved them into like their door frame.
Yeah, cold iron is traditionally in real life folklore good for fairies, witches, and demons occasionally.
Fairies.
But in this case, yes, it is the iron horseshoe over your door is specifically a sign to let fairies know to no one's home. The whole city smells kind of a mix of sea salt, wet clay, and hints of, you would say, pine oil and fresh flowers. So you guys depart in the Artisan quarter. This is the riverish quarter of the city. Full of craftspeople and merchants, lots of people, busy bustling. You guys may have to secure a carriage in order to actually get around town or on a handsome cab. The major industry in this city is the ceramics sector, because river clay. But there are also lots of weaving, both obviously producing fabrics for clothing, but also other things you would consider woven works, baskets and wicker work, for instance.
It took Ted Reeds.
Yep. There are some more working class industries you'd expect. There's a decent number of brick makers making kilns and ovens. And of course there are bakers, smokers, purveyors of foods who work all this. You see the mark of carpenters and blacksmiths as well. Historically, House Quatrefoil was one of the first clans in this region of milieu to start working with iron. They actually used the bog iron. But they don't make... They're not known for producing a lot of weapons now, but you can see, simple tools, a few simple weapons, and iron cookware, very popular.
Rad.
Lots of big cast iron, pots, kettles, cauldrons, that kind of shit. The local markets are awash in, as you would expect, local products, spring vegetables, fine cloths, ceramics of a wide variety of quality, all the way from like rough earthenware to, polished porcelain. Wide variety of herbs and spices. But also quite a few imports. Clothing shops are selling the latest fashions from Lampclair and Arbor. There are, sellers of horses and draft animals from Grass Sea, exotic spices from the Islas, printed books from Tron and Teine.
Oh, okay.
As well as generally wools, furs, and leathers from Norlon, jewelry and gems from Celticy, and more.
Maybe I can find that gem here. I'll try.
All the trade you would expect from a very sizable seaport. This is probably the largest trade port in Ferretti's lands. They have a couple of other seaport cities, but they are not as economics focused. Speaking of which, the port quarter is seaside. That's where you're going to go when you guys want to go rendezvous with Seawolf. Check in with Lucy. Residences are a little more lower class and working class here. The residents are mostly day laborers, longshoremen, fishermen, other people working on the boats, both in the river and the sea. Oh, actually, I forgot to mention, there was one final line in my previous paragraph. The artisan quarter is where all your inns and public houses are.
Okay.
So taverns, pubs, inn rooms. The port quarter... I wouldn't say it's, not without its charms. There's a big open fish market, trading all day, every day. several trading posts and general goods stores, a veritable forest of warehouses for storing and shipping goods. There are several dry docks where you can see ships being repaired or constructed here. Obviously not to the volume of some of the ports of House Marin, but, they are... Forretti does produce a large amount of lumber, and certainly it seems like Four Leaves could use the trading vessels. To those of you with experience in sailing, which I think is mostly Nicola and Konrad, you'd probably recognize the hulls being assembled as, cargo ships, not warships.
Makes sense.
Not that the funny thing about the Age of Exploration and Naval Empire is
Very similar.
a sufficiently a boat that is sufficiently large and fast enough to carry cargo swiftly. If you just replace all the cargo with guns, they make perfectly serviceable warships.
Yes, that's how piracy happened mostly.
But there is at least a little bit of conversion that has to be done for gun decks and the like.
Yeah.
But so these are being assembled, no gun deck, but still very, very robust. The port quarter also has, hostels and bunkhouses for workers, taverns of a more dingy nature, and, gambling dens and houses of ill repute. If, hypothetically, you were looking for criminal elements, this would be where the cities congregate. No idea why I need to write that sentence in there.
Someone's gotta go polish a mask.
Opposite of this quarter is what is known as the church quarter, a much cleaner, more respectable, even solemn district. There is the cathedral hosted here. There's a cathedral and a bishop. The Cathedral of Clovers. It is now what you would say compared to, say, like a couple of the cathedrals you've seen on your trip. More modest, but it was the first church of its scale in Troikoron of this type. So very, very respectable old. Yeah, no, you might run into them. I can say that, and can actually. Dramatis. Oops, sorry, I actually hit a spacebar in my pre-type. The bishop here, you guys would probably know from casual knowledge of citizenry, mostly because I don't usually feel like making any of you look like dunces by being like, you don't know anybody from here. These are, large cities and large houses. And like I said, you guys are what you call it? Passively familiar with House Quatrefoil. Like I said, I think some of you guys may have. You definitely met her. I don't remember if anybody spent a lot of time talking to Felicia Quatrefoil.
I did not.
The heir to the house.
He's not on my list of people I dance with.
Okay.
Not on the list of people from Ferretti I hang out with.
Well, like I said, I know for a fact that the squad has met her in passing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, did I? I have this name down, but I don't know if I actually assigned them a slot. No, okay. So we'll have to tuck that in later. But their name is, I do have their name, and I can make sure it's jotted down after we're done here, is Viorel Quatrefoil, cousin of the family, is the bishop here. The bishop. I mean, yes, no. Hey, funny how that worked. The church authority goes priest, bishop. You're either in there may be some wiggle room for being like the head priest of a specific church, but typically your ranking goes very longitudinally.
Mm-hmm.
But this quarter also features hospices and almhouses for the infirm and destitute. There are a couple of scholarly institutions and spaces of general education, church-run public schools. There's seminary for religious education. There's a handful of what you would call middle-class housing because, while that is kind of changing in your current culture, historically a decent number of scholarship would have been done with religious funding. that there would have been periods where it was, kind of the purview of the church to kind of understand natural philosophy and slowly unravel the riddle of creation, kind of a thing. And so, there are scholars, writers, doctors who kind of settle in this district. Would I want to have you roll? No, I would tell you this, speaking of pre-planning. A notable thing about the church quarter that you would probably be aware of, and I would say specifically Leslok probably be aware, is there is a certain clerical order, Orotorques here, the Order of the Veil. This is the religious and spiritual order dedicated to veil crafters.
Oh.
So they have an office here, basically a branch, and generally this position works as a space for education and training, common literature to the masses, but also one thing the order does do is basically effectively run an orphanage. They often care for orphans and misplaced children because they are looking out for children with the potential to join the order, to become veilers. Because hypothetically, anybody born in spooky circumstances might have the knack, but it means that they end up with a lot of, like I said, orphans, or just another thing that we probably don't get because of turn of the century stuff, but it is entirely possible to be put in an orphanage, not because your parents necessarily are dead, but also in situations where your parents cannot care for you anymore, because of maybe losing one parent and thus losing a source of income or some other situation. Children could be put up places when the family doesn't have the funds to handle them and moved on. So wayward children. Though you would guess also this facility probably has a small cloister or chapel for study and meditation and trekking of monstrum or whatever. Bulked up against the walls and kind of the outside ring of the city, and in the westernmost section, there is the last quarter, the noble quarter. A decent number of it's taken up by administrative buildings, assembly halls for town government, courthouses, banks, the handful of major trade guild chapter houses that are not in the other districts would be here, that sort of thing. There's barracks and training halls for a town watch. There's a city guard. Offices for what we're calling the crown offices. So there are positions where king couriers, king's rangers, that kind of thing could be here. And the rough centerpiece of this district is there is a villa residence for Quatrefoil known as the House of Clovers. Remember, they are symbolized by the 4 clovers that represents hope, love, faith, and fortune. The lady of the house, Lady Veruja Quatrefoil, is in residence, along with her daughter Felicia, who, as I said, you have at least met socially, and she is a fellow member of the Etoile Club.
We should at least go pay our respects.
We should, yeah, we
Yes,
it's the polite thing to do.
You guys probably could have weaseled out of it, but the crown prince would, he is just rolled up into a town. He would, make sure to go and present himself to the local.
We're part of his entourage, sadly, for this tour.
Well, actually, yeah, we could, like I said, we could weasel out. We can just we split now, bye. But
no, but I need to say goodbye to all my other people.
Yeah, so
yeah, it's only like I said, it took you probably like 2.5 hours to riverboat down here, or maybe 3. So it's noonish, luncheon time perhaps.
We'll probably leave tomorrow morning.
Well, that you want to discuss your leave plans. You gotta.
Oh yes.
They're gonna leave tomorrow morning probably. Your leave plans. You guys got to go down to the dock districts and find your boat, find where the Seawolf was birthed, and talk to Lucy.
Yeah, we should go set that up. Yeah.
She's got to go with the tides. You could send a runner and have her meet you. She is technically the head of a banner house, so
something we'll have to think about for next time.
Yeah. But yes, so that probably sounds like you guys are will wrap, I guess, unless one of you guys wants to make sure to scroll off your own way or dismiss any of your messages with your social call to House Quatrefoil.
No, I just need a name of that. What was the name of that order?
It's the Order of the Veil.
Thank you. I can write that down.
I probably will do a little bit of shopping, but yeah, social visit to Social visit to House Quatrefoil. I'm gonna make some checks in certain parts of town.
I can spoil at least some of this conversation while I would like to probably do some role play. You guys can see and know about the villa they're at. They have a respectable guest house, but obviously it is a, inner city, villa type thing. Think of like a lot of the villas you see in the Italian Assassin's Creed type games. They cannot compact a crown prince and his entire entourage and you guys and your entire entourage into that space.
Nah, we're gonna have to find our own lodging for the night.
Yeah, you guys are either gonna have to go back to the Seawolf and start bunking on the ocean, or arrange an inn. So you guys will have time to yourselves no matter what.
Right. I was thinking.
So any other further questions or planifies about 4 Leaves you want to ask me now? Before
I'm
we
trying
wrap
to
up?
remember how well known. I don't think is Sasebo known as a Veiler. I don't think that's a thing actually, because it might be slightly contentious actually.
I would
like to remind you that the drawback for attunement is everybody who is the least bit sensitive knows.
Yeah, don't you have like glowing eyes?
You
my
literally
my eyes are literally
attunement-
iridescent.
I think yours, other than probably the rune people who literally are runes carved into their bodies, is like the most obvious one.
Well, that's not technically true. Drake.
I more meant like as
Source
I bet as
take a
public
minus
knowledge
10.
goes.
Well,
I
okay,
don't
but
know if it's a thing that's discussed, but like I said, anybody who sees you knows.
Fair.
But like some of them are
it is
more
dry.
subtle, like alchemist, wind witch. They're not as obvious.
I would say alchemist is obvious, as you really literally gain a point of body.
Well, alchemist is
If you know
obvious if you
beforehand.
know the person before and after.
Yeah, I
If
would.
you just met someone on the street, I don't think you would know if they were attuned or not.
I
That's
would
more
To
argue.
remind everybody.
I would argue that it is possible, considering the changes to you might be slightly
Yeah. Oh, if I take
uncanny
my shirt off,
valley-esque.
no, if you take my shirt off, there's a giant fucking tattoo on my back, so that's a giveaway. Because you
Well,
have to.
also, I think everybody who gets a flawed attunement is usually it's very
Well, if you get a
obvious.
flawed attunement, it's bad. Yeah, flawed alchemy
It's
attunement
partial
is
curse.
obvious.
Quote from Flawless Veil Attunement: any supernatural creature or any person who either has at least 2 points in any sorcery or 3 points in Eerie instinctively senses your presence and knows you as a Veiler.
Okay. Fair. I was more just thinking about if that's like a thing people say in the same sentence with bringing up Leslok, if he's a Veiler or not, because usually his house is more associated with soulcraft and other specific things. So I was more just wondering if there was like the bottom. How do I put it? Because I don't.
I mean, it's
there's
probably not on your business card.
Because I just don't think he talks about it that way. So
It is probably like they may not differentiate between like a soulcrafter and a veiler, but they would definitely like know you're a sorcerer.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That is, as we say, unavoidable.
Yeah. You would do that, yeah.
But yes, no, I think that's good. We have our initial plans. Like I said, my plans haven't changed that much right here, but it's good to
I
know.
got a thing to do.
Yeah.
I still gotta say goodbye to everyone. But that's a different thing.
Well, you got some time to think about that one.
I gotta think about that one, yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
a good one.
EXP.
I'll think of more of it during the week.
Sadly, I think that that Nicola failed the role that would have been funniest to jinx him, so no jinx for you. You whiffed it. You biffed it anyway.
Which one was that?
One of your related roles to not your empathy role, because you did make that. It was one of your other ones you made that I was like, well, it would be funnier to make that up. I think it was the goldsmithing one where if somehow succeeded on this, I was absolutely gonna jinx your ass and make you do it again.
Oh, that's fair.
But you comic sans it anyway.
Fuck, sounds good.
And you did not meet any new people, so Inos did not roll unwholesome, so nothing there. But otherwise, I would say everybody, you were here, and we all were one character,
Can I say my
so you get at least
missions?
your 2 XP.
Can I say like
Um,
the mission simply qualifies?
I think your mission is complete because I think Konrad was the
I made a
last
roll
person on
for
your
that,
list.
and everything, so I think it qualifies.
I'll take that 2 XP. Fuck it.
I
My
believe
mission will
Leslok,
complete next
that
time.
was your because you're at the final destination of your trip. And like I said, I
made a
think
point about it, so I think it worked.
Konrad was your last person to hit on your list, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think your mission is complete, and that'll be another reason to take the break, so you can think about what your next step is. So that's an extra EXP for you.
I think that's 4 for me.
Anybody else think they clocked out a mission?
Nope.
Well, mine will finish next session, I assume.
Mine will probably be finished in the next couple sessions.
Yeah.
Because I gotta awaken the sea wolf into an eidolon.
Mine is probably, let's see, 1, 2, 3, maybe 7 sessions away.
Yeah, sadly.
Oh, wait, what? What is it?
To scout out castles, Rovjorn.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Yeah.
He wrote a new mission to go back to Teine, and then you guys added an extra detour. Not that I think Konrad is personally opposed to this detour, it's just he won't get his mission done for a while.
Yeah.
Alrighty, okay. Well, if that's all the EXP and stuff resolved, that'll be the sesh. So, this was the boat. Next time we'll be doing our business in Four Leaves, and honestly, with you guys, maybe getting on the boat and doing Sea Wolf time.
I hope we can abbreviate that.
We'll see.
We should be able to.
Because I know you guys have stuff to do, but I feel like even for Inos, your plans are mostly role based. Like you will still have stuff to say, but I don't think they're like as much one-on-one RP, which is kind of the thing that slows us down.
No,
no matter which character it is.
I need to speak to the Crown Prince again, which will probably be another roleplay sesh, because I gotta tell him my thoughts on the second prince, because boy howdy.
I was waiting to have that conversation, so I wish I had a full opinion, but I'll just listen to the audio, I guess.
Like, obviously, Nicola does.
Now that we're safely past it, I am kind of surprised that you did not try and cast threads of conversation.
You're fucking right, I should have, but I forgot.
Yeah, because we were just standing on the deck.
Yeah, that was they were visible to you. That would have been a perfect opportunity.
You're right. I was just
like an intensity 1 or 2 spell.
I would double check.
I did dig up the chart. So first intensity spells have no detection radius. Second is people within 5 feet of you get a chance to roll eerie.
But no,
the funny thing is that it scales up very fast.
But no, I need to speak to the Crown Prince about his brothers, because unfortunately, Inos has some concerns.
Threads is intensity 2.
Yeah, that's a bit.
Yeah, so Kefis and Narissa would have had a chance to cast Eerie to figure out you did something, but nobody else on the boat would have got it.
And I don't think they would have bothered. I don't think they would have been weirded out maybe doing anything.
If
I just bought Inner Senses with for Konrad, so he might and a dot of counterspell.
Konrad's preparing himself.
Well, I guess you did get learn. I guess eventually.
Fucking wizards.
Oh, it's a veil. It's a veil thing.
He's becoming the anti-wizard. But no, I need to. Well, we can talk about it off. We don't need to.
I figured out a mission idea.
Anything else? You gotta so XP. We got plans. All right. Well, then let's wrap it up. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the video, and we'll see you guys next Tim.
Next Tim.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Dragon
My mind was
Ball
all there, and I
Z.
thought remember.